Who's here?
Is it okay, Judy? Oh, we're okay? Oh, we gotta wait for Wayne now. Yeah. Sorry.
Some regulars coming in, so.
Oh, okay. Well, it's time. Okay. Okay, I call the meeting to order and ask if there's a disclosure of interest. As there is none, I have a resolution to adopt the agenda. Excuse me. I have an adoption. I have a resolution moved and seconded to adopt the agenda as amended with the following addition. Report number 2024.216-144 Berry Drive rental opportunity. It has been moved and seconded. Any other additions or comments? All in favor? Opposed? It's been carried. First item we will deal with this morning is the report on 144 Berry Drive, this rental opportunity, and I'll pass it on to, or if you have any questions or comments, I'll pass it on to Director of Operations, Chris.
So through the chair, as the report states, we had one application and that person did not fulfill the contract requirements and exited from the availability of taking the space. So we're offering up the space again in the old Boonge Press for December closing, looking for a new tenant.
So we do have a resolution here. Recommending an expression of interest be issued. That's been moved and seconded. All in favor? Opposed? Carried. Now we will continue with our budget meeting and pass it to those that are involved in the finance. We have the initial draft of the 2025 budget picture from page 5 to 13. So I'll pass it over to you wish to go that way, or if do you wish to just go to every department and start that way? Councillor Viss?
Yes, Mayor Lucy, before we start, the numbers we're looking at, of course, got to be certainly looked at. Having said that, I'm wondering if we get the attention from council about where we'd want to be at. Because if we don't know that, I mean, we can go through each one and nitpick it. We're not going to end up anywhere. So I'd like to see from council, whatever, by the December the 10th, where we would like to end up. And if you want me to start, I can start on that. I personally, I'd like to see it anywhere between 2% and 4% by on the 10th.
Okay. Yeah.
Yep.
Councillor Calvert?
I'm in that range, 3 to 5, 2 to 4, somewhere in there. I think that's
Okay.
what we should shoot for.
Okay. So Kempoff?
Yeah, I was thinking myself, right, somewhere between 2 and 3, I guess, since Councillor Viss is such a spendthrift, I guess we could go to 4.
And thank you. Good morning. I just have a concern that we don't know where we're starting from. Like, we don't know where we start from because we haven't got the audit figures from 2023. So,
But every year is individual. So this, if there's any, yes, if we start at 0, because if we have money left over from last year, once the audit is done, it goes into reserves. And if we're in a deficit, we take it out of reserves. So that has nothing to do with this budget. We're just starting at 0.
okie doke. Thank you.
So what is your thought of an increase?
I'll go with the team and
Okay.
Yeah.
And that would be after we take into account the growth. Okay. So now we will start with the Would you like to start with the reserves or every agency, every department?
Wayne had his hand up for.
Okay, Wayne?
We have some. This morning we have some guests. It might be good to have them be able to present their matters, so then they can get on with their days.
Certainly, and I think they're from the library. So if they'd like to come forward, please. We did receive a letter from the chair, I believe, indicating that they're looking for a 3% cost of living increase and $2,001 one-time funding. So there is no budget, otherwise there's nothing to look at.
Maybe not, there's just an explanation of why the increase, primarily cost of living, and then a one-time amount so we can train a new CEO
Mhm.
next fall. And that's pretty much it for 2025.
Okay. Any discussion? Councillor Peacock?
Thank you. Just wondering, are the rentals going to be similar to previous years? I see that you're anticipating a bit of an increase. Is there more programming?
Part of that increase is the insurance coverage, so that's impacted it slightly. And I think there's perhaps, I know I've discussed this with Wayne and I believe Elizabeth, but we came up with an idea of what to do with the rent, with the insurance payments on the hall rental. Yes. It does vary slightly just by what's planned and yeah.
And thank you for all your years of work and we'll just progress to it.
Yes.
And a new librarian. Mhm.
Any other questions? No? Other questions? Okay. None? Thank you very much.
Thank you, Lucy.
You're also.
Okay. Now we go back to administration on page 23. Pardon? Oh, the museum is here too. Oh, I'm sorry. Page 43.
43.
If you'd like to come forward, please. Voice doesn't work and the brain's not working this morning.
Well, good morning. I'll start off, I guess, by saying that we're still kind of working with a lot of these numbers, not quite sure which ones are the most current, but just in summary, what we're looking at for this year is nothing too dramatic in terms of asking for money at this point. We have some carryover in capital of work that wasn't done last year, one on the train station, one on the entrance to the Red Barn. So we've included that back in the budget. Our priority this year would be to open the second floor of the general store. We found last year with the opening of Market Square and General Store, it was very positive, and the site is starting to be exciting. So our hope this year would be to open the second floor. In order to do that, an exit ramp or an exit stairs have to be constructed on the back of the building. I think we've talked about that in the last few years. It's probably going to be in the neighborhood of $40,000, depending on how we do it. But we can't open that second floor until that exit is complete. Our plan would be to apply for some funds to help in constructing that. And we've spoken with the administration about that, and hopefully we can move forward with that in the new year. I'm not sure whether you want us to include the cost of that as a capital item in the 2025 budget, or do we just apply for funding, then come back to you for our contribution if the funding was successful? Or do we want to just put the money in the capital budget and obviously that would come from reserves and go ahead with it?
Right now, we show 25,000 for those back stairs.
Okay.
That would be our portion? Because you had mentioned 40,000.
No, I think that would be the total cost if it's 25. The number that I knew from way back was around $40,000 to do it. So 25 would be more than would be our portion if we got funding.
Okay.
Correct me if I'm wrong.
If you don't get the funding, then the 25,000 won't be spent.
Right,
Because you wouldn't get the funding.
right.
Okay, no, then you would put it in your budget.
Put the,
The 25,000, just as it is now, would be in the budget.
okay.
Yeah.
All right.
The source of that funding?
The
We have
source,
revenue. It's coming from the reserves.
Yeah, they're applying for other funding, right?
Oh, yeah, I don't know where they're applying for funding.
Funding is.
well, the other funding would either be the Heritage Fund or the Trillium Fund. Those are the two that we have discussed over the last couple of years, so we have to apply to either one of those. We missed the Trillium Fund last year because of the timing. They have different categories. But this year, hopefully, I haven't looked at the dates yet, but hopefully we can apply for either one of those.
Yes, because they'll cover 100% the Trillium funding. Oh, Councillor Viss?
Yeah, so on the reserves, my document indicates they only have $21,000 in reserves.
I'm sorry?
21,000, that's all there's left. In my document here, in reserves.
Well, the last I heard, it was 400 and some thousand.
On page 22, you will find that. You will find the reserves for the museum. Yeah, here we are on page 22, the very bottom is museum 21,340.
So could I ask where the rest of the money went?
That's a good question.
It would have gone into the working fund, when we sold the Duke Hunt. So,
Well, if we, well, I would have gone in the working fund when it belongs to here. Because that's very confusing to people. If you're going to put money all over the place, if it's their reserves, why isn't it shown as their reserve?
That's because last year we got a paper saying our reserves was 454 or something. And that was the last I had heard.
Well, I highlighted that. I said, this isn't adding up here because it's just not coming out
Can
anywhere.
be changed.
So,
Changed. Okay. So the $30,500 would come from reserve for the cost of this stairs.
Is it, so it's 30,500, not 25,000?
Yeah, it's 30,500 because you have the entry ramp to the Red Barn, the AC at the Duke Hunt Museum, and the train station deck and ramp.
Okay,
So that comes to $30,500.
okay, totally.
It's come from reserve. But it was very nice to see actually at the third quarter that you were almost at the budget of income. that you made last year. So that was a big jump. It was terrific, yes. More than almost triple what you did the year before, so.
So having the general store and the Village Square buildings open this year really helped.
Mhm.
And then we had an added attraction in there with model trains, and a lot of people came out to see that. We also had some bigger events this year that drew more people. So I think it was a really good year this year.
Good. Good. Oh, that's nice to see. Councillor Viss.
Yeah, just a few questions for clarification. When I look at here goods sold, I assume that's the yard sale for $3,500. And then on the expense side, goods for sale, you have 2,000. So you didn't make, where you made $1,500. That's it. Where's the 2,000 expenditure for? Right, that's their budget numbers. You had 401 and you had 468 is what you had expenses, so you went in the hole on the yard sale.
The yard sale actually was, about 3,400, was it?
Okay, it doesn't indicate that here. The income.
The yard sale occurred in Q4, so it will show up in the next update.
This is only up to September.
Yeah, I understand. So that's why I just, see what I'm saying, it makes it difficult because I can only go by what's given to me, you see? Because then I looked at the salaries too, if I may. Budget was 66 and it ended up being 72, and that's fine. That's third quarter. It's closed. So there should have been nothing much in the fourth quarter, is there? And then you look at your budget, you got a 50% increase in salary. Can you explain that?
I believe the curators better speak to it, but they had increased the operating hours planned in 2025. And I believe they can speak to why they made that request.
Well, I think people should have that answer because we are alive. So, you know, if people understand what we're going to. I think those kind of explanations we need, like, you know, so people can hear it.
Sure. So the budget that I'm going by doesn't have the figures in for salary, but I did have it on my list of things to talk about. This year we went into almost the end of October.
Okay.
With the garage sale. We had a couple of tours come in that too. And then finishing up paperwork and whatnot. So we have been asked, or we are going to ask for an increase in hours for the curator and the assistant curator. So that is the reason why that would be
Okay.
up.
Good, thank you.
Another thing I wanted to point out was the goods for resale. This year, it's gone up because we want to order t-shirts and hats. So that will be enough to keep us going for a couple years. So that expense will be averaged out over a couple years.
Okay.
Another increase would be in office supplies because we need to have another laptop so that we can do more work. The laptop we're working with now is got to be about 8 or 10 years old. So we can use that for just research stuff for the museum workers, and the assistant curator can have a new laptop. Another addition would be materials and supplies has gone up in the request because there's a lot of fixing of displays. For instance, I wanted to put some of the yard displays on cement pads. And there was other things like a baby change table in one of the washrooms. We've been asked about that a few times, and I think it's probably something that should be there. We've also been asked for the sake of people who travel by bike across Canada or various places, if we would have bike racks. So we were looking into some of those things.
Any other questions? Counselor Peacock.
Thank you. Just wondering with regard to the AC for the Duke Hunt Museum. The suggested budget was 2,500. Do you anticipate there's going to need to be electrical repairs or additions to the or anything electrical, or would that include that? Or it's hard to say at the present time.
Don't know the price of that, actually. I think I just did a quick estimate.
Okay, thank you.
And just to justify it, there were days this summer that the building was in the 80s on the inside. It's not good for artifacts, it's not good for workers.
No, that's right. Anything further? No more questions? Thank you very much for coming today. I really appreciate it. Thank you. Now we will start with administration, page 23. Does anybody have anything on page 23? Oh, Councilor Miss?
Yes, are we talking about administration, right? Okay, starting off on the top there on the expenditure side, administration salary, and I can take budget to budget numbers. And then if you take budget to budget numbers, we're looking at a 10.7% increase. And so I think a 3% increase is what the contracts are. Usually we follow what the union contracts are. So I think we need to have an explanation how come that's up to that kind of a number.
Yeah.
I believe that number includes the addition of the operations clerk. So it's in admin.
Can I ask you a question why it's not in operation side then rather than admin?
She's an administration employee, but we will transfer the costs over to the
Roads.
works.
Yeah. Usually that's done at the end of the year, isn't it? Yeah.
I can, for the next budget, I can change her position to Public Works, if that would be preferable.
And I have one further question, if I may, and if you go to 1281. What happened here when our actual cost for insurance is 313,000, and you're only budgeting 79,000?
The 313 is the total amount that we spent. It has not been assigned to departments yet. So I will do my best to have the complete breakdown assigned to departments for the next update.
I appreciate your answer, John, but my, we gotta be a little closer than that. How do you expect me to ask them questions when you're saying you're gonna move this, move that, and do this and do that? Well, that should be done before we go any further. I don't.
We assign insurance and the labor and those things at the end of the year.
Yes.
I understand that everything is always at the end of the year, then let's wait till the end of the year. I asked this question, I look like a fool here, and I'm looking at the actual numbers.
It says, yeah, but if you look at the 2024 budgets, it's 79,505.
That's
It's the
correct.
exact same amount for 25. So that's after all the insurances have split up. There hasn't been any change. I would assume though that the insurance would go up somewhat.
We have not received the response back yet
Okay.
from the
Insurance company?
estimate back yet from the insurance company, what they expect the cost to go
Yeah.
be next year. But
You've just used 2024 and split it up that way.
Yeah.
Okay. Any other questions on page 23? Gilbert.
Health and safety, I see we're always putting 10,000 in. Do we ever hit that? Or is that just a number we've just picked out, and would it be more realistic to put like about half of that, it seems? Or what's been the history on that? Does anyone really?
Well, we normally don't go over or get to the 10,000, but we don't year from year, we don't know what's mandated, what kind of training we're gonna have to do. So, you know, we want to ensure that we're covered. And we're certainly looking at providing more training for the employees for health and safety as we move forward. It's becoming a requirement that we do more training.
Okay.
Yes, great.
I just need to comment on the salaries there. One of the issues we have with on page 23 is that the figures for 2024 were understated by $65,914. So those figures you see there, the 667,833, 166,516, are not accurate. They should be $66,000 approximately higher. So that's what drops then the overall increase for the year. And I do believe that the public work clerk is indeed in operations. So we'll need to confirm those things at the next meeting.
To follow up Wayne's comment, in 2024, there were the one-time adjustments that were applied to admin salaries for catch-up from previous years. So that's where that 65,000 or 66,000 came
Came from, okay. Mr. Campoff?
So the budget numbers for 25 for the vast majority of expenditure columns are the same as 24. Is that reasonable? You don't anticipate any changes in things like hydro or office supplies or cell phones or natural gas?
The only item where we're expecting a change that we're not sure of and bringing back is insurance. When we get into other sections, we have an opportunity to reduce our hydro costs should we decide to change the way we do it. We are eligible for industrial rate because the arena uses so much hydro, so we can switch all of our building to that if we choose to do that, and that will result in a decrease in hydro costs for the municipality. If you wish, I can have a full report for the next budget meeting.
Sounds like a good idea. Mr. Peacock?
Thank you. The POA in the operations revenue. When I spoke with John last week, I think that was for 2 years. For recorded for actual this year. So I think that I know it's difficult to anticipate what we're supposed to get for POA funding, but is that realistic to expect 50,000 when last year we budgeted 24?
Yeah, it was an estimate based on what we had received to date. We do not receive any information from the Ministry of the City what they're expecting to give us. So it was estimate based on that. So it may be prudent to go down to the 25,000 from previous years. That is
And then as far as the lease of properties, on page 7, it indicates lease of properties as farmland, the old office and the agriplex. Well, to the best of my knowledge, we don't rent out the farmland anymore. And there's the racetrack lot that is rented out or leased out, as well as I believe the Heritage Park has the bus. I think that's only $1 a year or something, and it expires this year. But I'm just wondering what else is included in that lease of property, other than the like I say, the old office, the agriplex, and the racetracks. So
I believe I responded to your email.
It
with
just
that.
said most of it was the
S- s-
old office.
In Murillo, it's
Yes.
$1,600 a month is primarily is what that is.
I just wanted to
Other
ensure that
place in Murillo.
the other leases had been paid this year. Other questions?
Follow up with the racetrack.
Thank you. And the other question that I had was also in the notes, it says, again, referring to page 7, insurance, heat and hydro were to be increased by 15% in the notes that we had, sorry.
Yep.
And that isn't indicated on anybody's budget.
Yeah, subsequent to those notes, I made the adjustment to bring them back. Having done more research on what we can do to reduce our hydro costs. So
Okay, and are we going as far as page 24 or no?
It's the next one.
Okay, just wondering why there's a credit in the asset management plan.
we received a payment for $50,000 from AMO for the preparation of our asset management plan. That was related to work we did actually in 2020 to 2023, but we received the money this year. So
And are we finished with the transfer switch? And is it up and running? And because we had been in 2020, we spent $2,050, and this year $97.69. So I'm just wondering, are we ready to roll with that transfer switch? Perhaps
I'll go with.
Yes, and that's why we're not showing any more costs going forward in 25.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Any other questions, Councillor Viss?
Just one more question onto the next mate. Building assessment, $25,000. I thought we did the building assessment not a year or two ago when we took that road tour. We did some of that. Is there something different that we're not aware of, Chris?
So through the chair, as much as I like to think it was a couple of years ago, it was actually 2019. It's the last time I did an assessment.
Time does fly.
Yes, it has. So we're hopeful to do another 5-year inspection. And that'll help with our costs getting ready for asset management submittal July 1st, 2025
Mhm.
to the government. So we just want to verify that we haven't missed anything going forward.
Thank you.
I just see
Councillor Gilbert?
we get parkland money anymore? I was just wondering. Is that gone now?
That would be in the planning budget
Okay.
of the planning department.
Yeah.
Any other items? So we will pass on to agencies on page 25, which is all estimated, majority of them, because we're not sure of what the increase is going to be on some of these. So they've been estimated to go up somewhat. Councillor Peacock?
Thank you. When speaking with John, there's an error that's to be fixed with regard to the Thunder Bay District Health Unit levy for recorded for 2024. However, with regard to the budget for next year, I believe following the meeting that we had with the health unit last week, that's pretty well exactly what they anticipate the levy to be for next year. However, DSAB, the news report says 6.3% increase for DSAB next year. So the health unit is going to provide information to us with regard to what their levies cover. I'm just wondering, can we get something from DSAB to say where their money goes?
Just to clear something up, DSAB will say it's a 6% increase. It's not a 6% increase across the board. That's their increase. Then it goes to who has the higher assessment. So we usually always are more than 6%. Meanwhile, smaller communities might be lesser than 6%. So it will be more than 6%. And you can look at their budget to see what it covers, all their different programs for the different programs they run. That's what the increases are for. And of course, wage increases, heat, oil, all those kinds of things. But yes, it's always that way when they have the budget, they go, 6% increase, whip-de-doo, but we always get more. Could be up to 9% for us.
Yeah, I was gonna say DSAP hasn't provided the details yet. Normally they do, they provide a very specific report. And like the mayor says, it's we always end up having more than the average because
By
we
assessment.
have a higher.
Yeah, goes by assessment. Yeah.
Yes, and conservation is the same way. It's by assessment, so we get more of a hit than
Yeah. the
others.
other
It's,
places.
they all pretty well, everyone, so.
Yeah.
The better off you are, the worse you are.
We're second. It's a city and then ourselves and then everyone else below that. Yeah. Councillor this.
Yes, under the police, I assume, Wayne, you and I, when we made that contract, the reason it's down 50,000 is because we're not buying a vehicle this year. I kind of thought that's what it was. I couldn't remember for sure. Okay,
There's no vehicle this year.
that's correct. Thank you.
Any other questions about the agencies? Okay. We go to page 26, which is the building and plumbing inspection budget. It's basically one covers the other. The permits cover the expenses. Which is how it should be. So Peacock.
Again, with the interdepartmental transfers, is that something that can be done for Q4 before we get this budget to look at next time around? Because if it's going to be an automatic transfer of 34,985 from a planning to admin, that would give us a more accurate idea as to where we are. Just wondering if those kind of things within departments can be done sooner.
They can be done. I just caution, as the transfer is a percentage of the actuals,
Mhm.
that, you know, I can transfer 20% at whatever, but, you know, at
Actuals
the end of the year, there will be
there'll still
another
be
subsequent
changes.
adjustment coming.
Cause actuals could change. Someone's
Actuals
off
will
on
change.
sick leave, on maternity leave, all those kinds of
And
things.
accruals and
Yeah.
others things, so.
Councillor Viss?
Yes, one question on the revenue side, the building permits, up 3/4 is 53,000, and the last quarter is usually a little slower, but even if it isn't, it'll be about 17, 18,000, so that's a total of 70,000. How do you rate a budget of 98,000? That's way out of whack. Were you expecting something really, really big this coming year?
We will have to adjust the building permit fees accordingly.
That's right. Yeah, the permit fees will cover the expenses. So if the permit fees aren't that high, the expenses will not be that high either.
Well, Mayor Lucy, your salaries are going to remain the same and your mileage and stuff, that isn't going to change a whole lot. But anyway, I'll leave it at that. But I just didn't balance out, that's all.
No. And if you get more industrial, commercial, because we've got some developments coming up,
Hopefully.
they are going to be much higher in building permit costs.
On that related topic, I believe it's probably prudent that we review all of the fees, or maybe not all the fees, but several of the fees.
Yeah.
For example, just tax certificates, we currently charge $25. I believe we should charge.
Can't get a McDonald's meal for $25.
Well, and we get lawyers that will call and request a tax certificate for that day or the next day because the house is closing.
Yeah.
And they've put it off until this point, and the house can't close without the certificate
To rush
and
it
that
to-
type of stuff. So I would like to charge them like $500. That's less than 24
Yes,
hours.
because you're the bad guy. If it doesn't come on time, it's your fault.
Exactly.
Yes, I understand. We can relook those fees during the year.
Yeah, exactly.
Alrighty, by law enforcement. Any thoughts, Counselor Viss?
Well, there we, again, like you see, I brought it up right off the bat, is looking at salaries. Again, here, you're looking at a 10% increase again, and then also on the previous one on planning, you all got a large increase in your salary and percentage wise, and that's budget over budget. And like, where do we come with? Like, when you're looking at a 10% increase here, we should be having a 3% increase, which is actual, which we know. And that's putting you through the whole document. I kind of picked that up and I said, well, why is that justice so high?
Yeah, I did review this one because I noted the increase there. That's double counting there. The 44,487 should be 41,289. The 3,198 was added in twice. So it's got the benefits in there twice.
So that's gonna come down $3,000 or 3,100.
3198, the same as the amount of the benefits.
So this will be about 50,000 bottom then. Or slightly under. Okay, any other questions? Then we go on to the cemetery, the Stanley Hill Cemetery, page 28. It's basically just staying the same. Went down a bit, but
Just comment, Mary Lucia, I think we need to keep this. We're all getting closer to that set.
mine's already paid for, right?
At the last cemetery meeting, I wasn't able to go there because I was at the museum board. But the cemetery board was talking about putting in a reserve amount each year for a new columbarium. And I think they cost about 40,000, 30,000, something like that. Yeah, and then the idea was maybe you put it $3,000 for over 10 years or 4,000 over 7 years or something like that.
Idea.
Idea.
Yeah, it's a good idea.
They didn't pass a motion, I believe. It wasn't at the meeting, but they've indicated.
I would say transfer to reserve, I would say $4,000. You know,
I think our columbarium is more than half empty, but
it's still in the future. Things
yeah,
could change
it's
pretty quickly.
seems to be getting more popular to use it, so.
Councillor Peacock?
That shade structure, it was complete. I think we saw it during the road tour, so
Yeah.
was that a Q4 expense then, I guess? Yeah, okay. And I agree, we should set up a reserve for the niche wall extension.
And also, I was speaking to Jim Gilbert. They've been to all the cemeteries with school children cleaning up, and he said they are going to be coming to us asking for more space for the Legion because they only have a few spots left. So I'm just telling you ahead of time, they will be coming here.
Okay.
But it's surprisingly how many school kids were out there cleaning out all the stones. And then they leave little pucks that they paint for the Remembrance Day on everyone, and then it's picked up later. They had hundreds of kids for a few weeks there.
Just a question, Director of Operation, the Legion plot, do they have quite a large area that I have no idea what they have for property there?
So through the chair, we had a site meeting about 4 years ago with the previous Legion rep, and we went for a walk, and the intent is to go west from the existing laydown.
Sense.
And we were talking about how to make it accessible to go into another tier. So because the bank goes up quite a ways, we don't want to level that. It's very similar to what we're challenged in the back and the expansion area. So we had some talks about a ramp of some sort of wooden ramp cutting into the bank and then getting rid of some red pines and making another
Right.
phase. But that was 4 years ago. It could be in-house work if they decide to go that way.
Yeah,
Thank you.
It was discussed at the last Legion meeting, so I thought I'd give you a heads up.
Okay, good. No, that's good. Yep, thank you.
Okay. Anything else? Oh, okay. Council is the next one, page 29.
Again, Mayor Lucy, these salaries again, why we're only 81,3/4. We add a quarter to the thing, we're still not anywhere close there yet to the 142. Why would we have it so high?
That include all your benefits like CPP, EI in the salaries, or are
They're-
they
they're-
separated?
There tends to be a little bit of a lag with the salaries because you guys are the 20th of your month behind. So it should track by the end of the year to budget.
Okay,
Okay,
So because
okay, thank you.
Councillor Peacock?
Thank you. We're anticipating the 3% increase for salaries that will be discussed at the next meeting. That covers council as well as non-union, correct?
Yeah,
Yeah,
based on the agreement we have.
yes.
based on the
One-
union agreement, yes.
Now, the council coalition admin fee, I see that has gone up. Is that something that we pay monthly, or is it a lump sum that goes to, is that for their secretary, or just wondering what that is for? And do we have anything
Secretary, the 1615.
that's now 2,000? Item number 1171?
That's the amount we pay for the LRMC secretary. We share $3,600. So our figure should be staying at 1615. There wasn't any talk about increasing that. And it's done on a per capita basis, so I think the 1615 should work and rather than 2,000. Something to that effect. I can't remember the exact number, but we pay 40% or something like that of the $3,600.
And I know I've mentioned this in past years. With regard to council initiatives, I would really like to see tracking of donations for the halls, donation of the rink, somewhere that we can track how much we as council approve donations to organizations within the community. To just have $5,000 there when we give the whether it be for the teas, for the winter carnival, for the Norwest Ice, just a better tracking to see what kind of information or donations basically council approves for the community. So, and I think that I did get a printout from John with regard to the council initiatives, and there will be a large increase in what we've spent due to a recent purchase that we've had to make. So thank you.
Not included in here, there was a recent authorized purchase for $11,000 for if something happened in closed session.
Oh,
1150
okay.
by 20 by.
Through the chair, if I may comment on that council initiatives. So if people come here and ask for something,
Yeah, the Heart and Stroke Fund or the whatever.
so anything that comes from council would be documented as far as a deputation, or
Yeah.
we're not going into tracking of costs for other departments, are we?
No,
So this is strictly if Pumba comes to council?
what comes to council?
Okay.
Yeah, those are council decisions. If you can look back over the whole year, you can see where we said, okay, we're gonna pay something for the Heimers booklet, the plowing match booklet, the church, all those things.
Those are recorded. If we pay for them, they're recorded. I believe Councillor Peacock is requesting that we record revenue that's foregone in this. So for example, if you normally rent the hall out for $200 a day and we decide to give it or to
We're giving
have the
away
Christmas
time.
tea for in kind for free, we don't record it because there's no cost to us.
That's right.
I believe Councillor Peacock is requesting that we record that And then we would record an expense and a revenue that would offset each other so that they would be net zero. But they would show up in this line item, which,
Oh, it's a lot of extra work.
so.
Oh,
Whatever you decide, I will record it.
yeah, well, think
So-
about it. I don't know what difference it would make. Counselor Vince?
The only thing what it does do for us then as council members, we say to the community, say, look, we do provide you all these and this is our cost to provide that. So it may be a benefit to council to know, like, at the end of the year, how much we do give to the municipality or to the residents. It just maybe just, you have something to back it up and say, well, don't say we don't do anything for you. Just look at this, it's all here.
Yeah.
I just wanted to comment that according to the accounting rules and so forth, you're supposed to be recording your donations in kind. We're not doing it because it's not, they use the word material, it's not a lot of money, maybe in the year we give contribution in kind to the 60 plus, maybe it's, 20 grand a year or something like that.
1,000.
Yeah, and we provide other small things like that to different places, like the senior tea they get in for nothing. If you record all that stuff, I don't know, it wouldn't amount to a lot, but you're supposed to do it.
Okay.
Yeah, but the auditor is not on our back about it because it's not a big item.
Yeah, just to mention the 60 or 55 plus, that's a provincial standard that we have to give them a percentage
We
of
have to
it.
give them
Yes,
20%
they-
of our
of their
income.
operating cost. That's a
Municipal
provincial standard. So
yeah.
we need to do that. So.
It's not a provincial standard for us. It's a provincial standard for them.
For them, for 60
Okay,
plus.
because.
For us
Not
to get
required to.
grant, for us to get grant money,
Yes.
we have to show that we get 20% plus from the operating municipality.
Okay, at the break, I'll dig out, I have the contract. When I was on the council, they
Yeah.
gave that to me to make sure that we gave them the
Oh,
money.
yeah.
So they showed me the
They don't,
contract.
that's not money, it's in kind. It can be
Yeah.
money, they can give
Yeah.
us money,
Right.
but they
Okay.
do it in kind, and it's usually the Department of Operations that does grading, gravel, snow plowing, that kind of thing. That makes sense.
Marosha, if it's not.
And taxes.
It's kind of a nice thing to know at the end of the year how much we do as council or municipality donate to.
In kind.
Residents of municipality and it's required and the CEO say, well, maybe we should if it's not too much.
You're gonna put it through the books, you could put it through the books, or you could just make a separate list just for your own,
Yeah, it might be a good idea to know that.
right?
You should put it in the books if you're gonna do it.
Yeah.
That's the idea, if it's an accounting rule. And, so the $20,000 for the contribution in kind to the 55 plus place, 11,000 or whatever it is, you'd see that entry in there. And you'd have to put the credit,
That was
someplace
the
else,
Director of Operations, yes.
yeah. He's being a nice guy crediting 11,000.
Yes, through the chair, I reiterate the point that if they come to council and you say you're gonna give them $250, that's easily documented. If we have to start tracking time to Rule 60, that is onerous. And it would not prove out, I guess, historically what we do there. Again, we did $4,700 worth of gravel work in that parking lot this year.
Yeah.
The opinion is that it's on average $9,400 a year is the in-kind donation. Sometimes it snows lots, sometimes it doesn't.
And the taxes are, they're not
Yes,
taxed,
so
so that's,
operationally, last year was a dry winter.
Yeah.
The snow removal budget wasn't there.
Yes, yeah.
We offset that by doing in-kind work of 4,700 and graveling to get to that in-kind donation. That's something we manage. This year, if they allow it to snow, not getting any gravel work next year.
the government now, before they didn't, government didn't ask about that, what the money was for, what it was. Now they want to know when I send in the grant papers, what exactly we're getting in kind, estimated, of course, a budget estimate. And when I send in the actual, they want to know actually, and you always send me printout, actually, we graded the parking lot, we snow plowed this many hours and the cost of the machine and
So To be fair, I'm looking at the ones that come here when it's August Ice and the Norwest Minor wants their donated ice for their first camp. I'm
Mhm.
looking at the Roslyn Winter Carnival where they want their first camp. I'm looking at the Fair Board when we work with them. Those type of things that are documented, they come to council and go that way.
Yeah.
If we, again, I'm cautionary in regards to tracking of cost because we do not have an internal cost structure set up for what our greater costs to run.
Councillor Peacock?
Earlier in the year, we did pass a resolution with regard to the donation of the race car. And it was, the tax receipt would be $500. Does that come out of council initiatives or where does that come from? Where does that
Well,
get
that person gave the
recorded?
car to the municipality and we
Yes.
gave him a charitable receipt for $500.
Okay. So it's just a paper
We
trail?
got the car, he's got the receipt.
Now,
It's a piece of paper.
with regard to the donations or the tax receipts, back earlier again in the year, we discussed the donation for Mr. Wanzek's donation of all the cars. And the resolution indicates that the 15,000 plus HST to have the appraisal done on those vehicles was to come from working funds reserve. Now, is that administration's working fund reserves or is it museums?
It's working funds reserves municipal,
Okay,
unless it specifically says museum or you know, arena or whatever. It's funds that can go anywhere in the municipality.
okay.
Councillor Viss?
Yeah, Mayor Lucy, just to echo what you're saying, that's exactly right. Mr. Wanzek came to this council and the council accepted that gift. That wasn't the museum board, so it'd be unfair to saddle them with something that we accepted it. So you're perfectly right, but you know, so that's
Okay.
where it should be.
I mean, we have a car that's an asset and it's worth $500 according to the assessment. This is where, whatever amount we are.
Mhm.
But yeah, there's that no actual money that gets traded. No way.
Good, everybody likes to have another report, but we should be doing a report about this donations of contributions in kind, the pros and the cons, so council can take a look at it and decide what makes sense. But another element.
The time involved in.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, pros and cons, that's a part of it. But the other thing as well that we do is there's some organizations that get tax receipts, or I should say tax rebates or refunds, or they don't have to pay, period. And all we do is write off the taxes. Whereas maybe that should be, you know, if you looked at it, recorded as a contribution to that group.
Okay, any other questions? Then we go to economic development. Page 30. Oh, my goodness, we're on the other page already. I think they're leaving all the controversial ones till the end. Okay, economic development, any questions? It's the same as last year.
Believe we're on track to sell the calendar out this year, so.
To donate the
Good work.
calendar out. Yeah.
So-
I think we have the box for the tea. I'll take it one on Wednesday. I'll find a strong man when I get to the Murillo Hall on Saturday and get them to put their carry it in. Everything's okay? Alrighty. Then we go to fire. Oh, here's one of those, big ones. Fire and emergency services, page 31 to 34. Okay.
Sure.
So anything to talk or question on page 31? Let's go one page at a time because how looks for this?
Sure, I'll start it off. I have a number of highlights on here. To start on the revenue side, 429, other fees, you had a 49, 2,000. You have absolutely nothing in the budget. Is there any reason why you had 40,000 in the budget for 2024, yet there's nothing? I'm sorry, that's the wrong line.
No.
You had nothing in there either.
Hmm.
Is there a reason why that there shouldn't be something when you get almost $50,000?
So I'm gonna defer that to John. We might not be able to answer, but I just picked up on that. I'm not sure what that fee is.
That's where we recorded the grant that we received for M&R
For the emergency management.
management plan.
So
That was
that's,
One time. It was a one-time grant that we hadn't expected last year. It was short notice, quick turnaround. Sean did a excellent job and was able to get pretty much what we asked for.
Yeah.
But we don't know if that program is
No, you
is
can't.
coming or
You
not.
can't put money in the budget when
So-
it's a grant.
Yeah, and so
so that's the emergency management grant that was
Yeah.
put through. And it's a 3-year grant. Because we got it the first year, we're not eligible for this go around. I'm not sure what happens in year 3 on that one, so.
Okay, second question I have, of course, is again on the officer's salary. You dropped that for some reason, but I thought maybe because the fire salary at MIT has gone up 38%. Is that the reason? Have you switched it around from one to the other?
the salaries are going to be a little more difficult to compare this year because the changes we're making. Fire is now 4 different departments. So you have fire, regional training center, emergency management, and what was a
Certification?
and so all of the costs are now spread out over those. Those are going to be part of the expanded GL that we have so that it's easier to track details.
So these
Oh.
ones you have here that are kind of darkened on my page, that you
Yeah.
highlighted on yours.
Mhm.
Those are the
new.
ones that we would add to the 71,000, some
Yes.
part of that.
Well,
Yes.
the officer salaries is gonna be the station captains. If you go down to the public educator,
Yeah,
that is one of the officers. So that money got transferred down to that line
Oh, I
along with the
see.
trainer.
You're
Well, it has no
separating the
GL
wages
number.
into people.
Mhm.
That's,
There, yeah, so you'll see at the top of the page, it says old GL.
yes.
Under the new GL, it's a different structure. And those columns are hidden. But there are new GL numbers for them. I just didn't put them in because it would make, I tried to condense this so that it was comparable to last year as
Yes.
best as I could.
Next year, you could
Next
have it
year,
expanded.
it'll be
because you can
expanded
compare
and
it.
you'll be able to compare it better.
Mm.
So I have those columns hidden, and if I did it under the new structure, for example, where we have the vehicles or even the fire halls, you would have, many more rows. So I just trying to.
So one more question, 2112, you have the trainer's salary, 3,500 budget, now you're at 14,749. What kind of a number is that? If it's a salary, why would you have come up with 749? And what is there, or is that again tied in here that I
Tied
can't
in.
figure it out?
That's tied
so
into
that,
the
the
top.
trainer's salary is the training officer along with the EFR coordinator.
Okay, I'll quit for now, somebody else's turn.
That's part of this added to the 71,000.
Yeah, it's a bit difficult when you see them
I know.
all, they're different numbers. It would have almost been better to give it to us, the salaries in one, and then
Well,
it compares.
but,
apples to
you know,
apples, see?
This year it's a little confusing, but next year it'll be very clear because it'll show exactly how it moves
Wow.
forward for every department.
Okay.
Yes. Councillor Peacock.
Thank you. Donations for the fire department. Item number 0804 in the revenue. Is it possible that by year end, when we tally up the total of donations, that be put into a reserve? Because it just doesn't seem fair that a donation is given to the fire department in memory of someone or whatever, that should be earmarked for something specific. And if it goes into a reserve, that way it could be used as opposed to just being gobbled up because something else was over. So, another budget item was over in the expenses. And so it gets offset by the donations that we receive. I think that should really be put into a reserve at year end if that's possible.
It is possible to set it up as a separate reserve and put it in if we choose to do so.
Could it
And
ju-
although we
Couldn't
don't,
just go into the fire department reserve that's there already?
it can, it would go into the fire department reserve now. However, it is like, a lot of stuff goes into the fire department reserve. So it's not specific. I was gonna say, however, in that note, I believe the fire chief does regularly track this number and he uses it for initiatives for the fire department. So even though it's not formally separately accounted for, we do provide the fire chief with the information for this account, which he uses for initiatives such
And-
as clothing and that type of stuff, I
You
believe.
have come to us in the past and said you've purchased this because we got a donation of,
That's correct. So whenever we get donations, we got a tracker sheet.
Yeah.
So if they donate for the first response team, we put that, it's just a spreadsheet with numbers on it.
Mhm.
And then, because many of the donations are small, so you can't really do anything with it. And then once we have enough money to buy something that's in that earmarked money, then we do that. The
Mhm.
jackets we bought last year were out of donation money.
okay.
And one further question with regard to the expenditures, fire public educator and the benefits from, was that not something that that you had proposed last year that wasn't approved, or is that?
So it was something I proposed last year. I didn't put it in this budget because I wasn't able to get stuff put together. But I do have an officer that's fire prevention / public education.
Mhm.
So the money that individual gets out of the officer's salaries is moved down into that public education
Came out
line.
of that top number.
Okay. And the inspector that we had, whereabouts does that?
That's down in fire inspections. It's old 2175.
Oh, next page.
Next page, yeah.
Okay. There's a credit this year in that account though?
No, there's not a credit.
Oh.
She bills quarterly, and I'd have to check to see why that's a credit.
Okay,
But I have signed off time cards for her, so it's
okay.
not
So,
in the
so we
negative.
have used her, but nothing showing to Q3.
I'll have to
okay.
follow up on that one.
Okay.
Anything else on that page, Councillor Des?
Two further questions, 2146, your licensing for software and, zero last, year, your budget, you didn't have any expense yet, you got 4,200, we must have had an expense because you got to pay for a license every year, don't you?
It was,
I believe if you look to be, there's under the new GL, there are different licensing charges for software and IT and radio and stuff. So you'll see 2146 is listed twice. And so you'll see there was 4,100
Oh, I see,
was
okay.
paid, but under the new GL, there will be two separate GL codes under the new system, and that's why it shows up twice.
The second question, 2149, $30,000 budget for the training center and 40,000, what are we doing to it?
So if we go up to the revenue, the regional training center, I upped the revenue at 56,000 for next year. It's Q3, it's got a 36 and change. I think as of right now, it's closer to 46 with the courses that happened after Q3. So expecting the courses next year, it's 46 or 56,000 in revenue. So I just upped the expenses in line with that.
Well, it's just, so there's nothing planned, it's just, you expect some kind of a cost to it.
No, we've got we've got a dozen courses planned next year. We're waiting for approval from the college for those courses. That's what the 56 in revenue is. And the costs associated with each of those courses is down at that 40,000.
So all we get out of it is $16,000 for all the work you're doing then. You only got 56 income, you got 40,000 expense, so that leaves you 16,000. Is it worth your while to do all that work?
So I have a report coming that's gonna break it down more.
Well,
This is just a number that we're putting into, I guess, spitball, if you will.
thank you.
Page 32 is rather explanatory if someone wants to talk about anything on that page. It's all each hydro, telephone, heat.
Yeah.
Counselor Peacock?
Yes, it, just that there is no insurance charged, for 2025 that should probably be added there.
Yeah, I have a note on apologies.
Okay, and does the internet cost not come on the telephone bill? I know that you've separated them out. I appreciate that, but is that going to be something that will be a bookkeeping nightmare, recording the internet charges as opposed to the telephone charges?
From the Stanley Fire Hall and the State River Fire Hall and.
All of the
Ross
fire
Hall.
halls, yeah. Mhm.
Well, to my way of thinking, it's one bill. It's so much easier just to enter it once.
Yeah, I'll let
Just
John
put it
answer
up.
that.
Yeah, you'll see that the budget amounts are zero.
Yeah.
Because we are not.
No,
breaking
I
them
mean,
up.
the time it takes you to separate it every month on every account, oh my goodness. It's not worth it. Okay, page 33. Oh,
Just one question on the pumper expense there. I noticed that all three pumpers here are quite high on the expense. Are you expecting some problems? Are they getting to that point or where we're at on that? Because if you looked at like, let's for instance, take 2721, from 1,500, you gone to 58, and then you go to pumper 2791, you gone from 23 to $5,000, and then you go. Yeah, okay, then, yeah, the other one's a rescue truck, okay, but is there something, we're doing okay, aren't we, with the
Yeah,
bumper?
so this is another change in the GL system.
Okay,
And there's some corrections that we're gonna have to make. So if we go to 2133, there's 7,500 in there for the pumper flow tests. That's on
2733,
page 31. See, there's pumper flow tests that's been in the budget.
number, are you talking about?
2133.
21, oh, yeah, okay,
So I'd put that one in along with the fuel, which was the way we've done it previously. The trucks now are individual with the fuel and the pump flow tests. So it's actually that 7,500 is included in each truck or the pumpers, and the fuel is broken down with each truck. So that's why these numbers for the trucks is higher.
okay, that makes me feel better. I was getting a bit nervous. I thought we're getting way too much expensive. What's going on with our pumpers here, because they're key, they're number one up machine for you, so, okay, that's good, that's a good.
So I will say, Ellie, that we are starting to see increase in expenses in trucks, especially with the safety rules changing.
Thank you.
So
Yeah, and so this would be an example in with the new GL. So right now we have 2711 6200. Right now it's just rolled up under the new GL. There would be five items under 2711. So it would be fuel, repairs and maintenance, licensing, inspect, that kind of stuff. So
That'll help.
And once this is the new program. And I think I remember it being told to us that once this thing is in the go, we could get into that with our own password. We could never touch the numbers. But if we wanted to check and see why is that number so high and all the sub accounts underneath it, we could go ourselves
Yes.
and look at it. And,
yeah, you'll have read permissions. for it.
Yes. So.
I don't know, do we want to?
I mean, that might answer some of your questions. Counselor Peacock?
Yes, earlier in the year, I had took the time to go through all the resolutions that council had passed pertaining to money. And one of them was a budget addition to the fire department for the emergency management group to conduct a fire station feasibility study for 16,752 plus HST. I don't see that in the 2024 budget recorded anywhere. Perhaps that bill hasn't been paid, but I'm just wondering where it's.
So the resolution came after the preparation of the budget, so that's why it won't show up in the budget. And the feasibility study has just started and has not finished yet, so we have not received invoices as of September, end of Q3.
When you get the invoice and pay it, it'll be in here.
Okay.
Okay. So page 33, that's where kind of the hair goes up in the back of your neck. In here.
Yeah, so I can go through this. So the one to highlight is this fire grant not awarded yet. There's 117,000. So that's the grant that I put in. I haven't heard whether we've successful or not, but we put it in the budget. And then the top 1, 2, 3, 4 items are what I put the grant in for.
So that,
Bucket list?
Yeah,
and
Okay.
so if we don't get the grant, those 4 items are not gonna happen.
that's correct.
Okay.
So once we get word on the grant, and my understanding is we're just gonna get a lump sum and then we pick out of the items we put in for that.
Okay.
So that's the highlight on that. And then for my capital requests, I put in for some more hose. There's a report coming at the next council to award hose testing. I'm expecting some of the hose to not pass. And I put in every so many years hose, because we lose hose over time on fire. So I put in for some 65 mil hose, which is a supply line, and 45, which is our attack lines. I've put in for portable radios. So this year I have in the budget radios for the SCBA units. We've got a mix match of radios in our system. Some of them are quite old, so I'm putting in to start upgrading and replacing some of those. So that's basically another 6 radios. Hydraulic cutters. So this is an extrication tool. Battery operated cutters. We've got battery operated combi tool, which is a spreader and a cutter, and a battery operated ram. So this is to add to that complement of tools. A low level strainer jet and the valve that's needed for that. We're moving towards flowing more water, the bigger ponds that we bought this year and that stuff. So that's to outfit one of our trucks with those units. The hydraulic batteries, the e-tools that we have now, the batteries are getting at end of life. So we basically have got to replace them. And then I put in here for 30,000 for another diesel exhaust system in the Slate station. Last year I put in for all 6. We did 2. Putting in for Slate this year, and then follow up once we know the feasibility study. And then moving down the wall, well, I'll let Chris, I guess, go through those ones with the building stuff.
So just a quick question, the KB washroom upgrade that's showing 25,000 and you're showing it in 30,000 up top, are they both the same project?
I'm assuming I didn't put the 25,000 in. So I'm not sure how that got put in, but the 30,000 is for the KB washroom. This washroom upgrade, I didn't stick it in the budget.
So the 25,000 is gonna get done whether you get the grant or not?
Nope, I didn't put that in the budget, so
Okay, so it can go out.
it can come out.
So some of the small incidentals, the 1,400 to 1,500, $2,000 items are carried forward based on need. We did inspections and all those pressure tanks and wall pumps will make it another year. So we carried the forward cost based on usage. The cistern in Murillo, 200,000 has been allocated to that in capital. That's not enough, and I don't know where we're gonna put it. And if that's a course that council wants to carry forward, we'll have to bring a report back on that. Drywall installation has to do with their OPG acquisitions we're gonna be getting in 2025. We're working with various agencies. I do not believe that 100,000 will be spent in 2025. The rest of it is based on asset management. The ones that are highlighted will be completed this year. We're actively working on them right now. And Roslyn Station forced air furnace is a carry forward from previous years, and we're waiting for the feasibility study to assist us with that regard.
Mr. Peacock.
Sean, you had mentioned that the exhaust removal had been done in a couple of stations already.
It's
Uh,
in the, pardon me, it's in the process of being awarded, I think.
Oh, okay.
That's Kekebeka and Murillo.
And Merle, okay.
They were in the 2024 budget.
Mhm. Yeah, a lot of stuff is left to the end, so that's unfortunate.
Okay. Again, oh, wait, go ahead, Wayne. Go ahead.
I'm just curious about the cistern. You mentioned that might not be sufficient, and I think what is it that, how many gallon, 10,000 at the OPHP was 80 grand or something like that? So it was-
Through the chair, it was 417,000 or 316,000 was the tank to put in the ground at OPHP.
But the price was $80,000?
We got a grant for most of that cost and it was related to the cistern.
Okay, I'm not following what you're saying. So I think that whatever it is, the capacity at the OPHP costs $80,000. So for 200 grand, you get one that's 2.5 times bigger?
Again, it was a council wish based on the bus tour to put that in there. The cost has been put in at $200,000. I don't know where it's going to do anything of any certain size that would be able to be used for a long time. We are well aware that if we do the cistern at OPHP, you get how many gallons a minute can you pump?
Yes, 30 minutes worth of water.
30 minutes worth of water. So if we're gonna put something in a communal area, it has to be of a robust size. And I don't know where it's gonna put it or if we're gonna carry on with this project. We're not gonna spend $80,000, in my opinion, to fit one in somebody's front yard, whether it's at a fire hall or public works backyard, and have the capacity to pump out twice and that's it.
Yeah.
This is a fairly robust project. I just don't know where it would go, whether we have land or what size we're looking for. The 200,000 was shot in the dark based on the bus tour.
Councilor Vince?
Yeah, a question on that, and I think I mentioned it before. I'm wondering if we should get some kind of a questionnaire out to all the businesses that are there. Would they all participate in sharing the cost of that? Is it worth the while? Would they get a reduction in charges to offset that if we have that water supply in that area? Now, having said that, of course, that would be us included because we do have the yard work warehouse, so that would be part of it. But I wonder if we send out a questionnaire, say we're considering putting a water tank system in their supply. Are you interested in supporting to your savings, maybe in insurance? Just a question. I just.
What if they say no? And
Well,
it goes
then-
ahead, do they?
Well, I don't know if we need to go ahead, but at least it'd be a start and say there's some help here or not. Like I don't know, $200,000 just for what?
Through the chair, I put that number in there precisely for this conversation.
Yeah.
And I would like to say that the Ontario Building Code does not allow communal use. Okay, the Fire Protection Act may, but the building code is triggered by the 6,000 square foot mark. Right, 6,000 square foot, you gotta put one. So to Councillor Vissa's point, if someone's got a 4,500 square foot house or 4,500 square foot and someone's got 6,500 square foot, obviously the guy that got 4,500 is not gonna contribute to that. In my opinion, is it worth a survey to figure that out? Potentially. This is a project that was spoken of on the bus. It's in the budget. There's gonna be more legwork required to pursue spending that money.
Yeah, it was discussed that we were looking, I think, at Morello somewhere. Putting in the tank for water supply.
So if I may, my suggestion, I'm with Chris on this. I think there's a lot more work that has to get done in order to do a project like this. So I think if it's something that is the flavor of council, that we spend some time this year to put something together with respect to size, location, stuff like that, and bring it back at the next budget next year.
I'm just wondering, is the Amarillo Fire Station yard large enough for something like that?
Through the chair, the comment I would have on that is no, and we have a secondary well on site that's monitored by the LRCA that takes up a bunch of space that could be available.
So we could take that out this year, because if you're gonna look at it, you'd want to look at it, bring back a report for 2026. So we can take that out.
Take it out.
Through the chair, that's why I made the comment. Both items would be legwork in 2025.
Yeah.
The two that I mentioned,
Mhm. Which
Okay.
was the pressure tank and the well pump.
the dry well.
Yeah.
Because again, the building code doesn't allow drywall to be a source to be savings for cost of insurance.
So, and then, oh yeah, that's the dry well installation. That was 100,000. That could come out too, or that was
Through the chair, I think there's a lot of legwork involved in both of them.
Both of them.
If I don't procure the right amount of stuff for the drywall that I'm trying to get through OPG, then that project will not even be tabled.
okay. All right, we'll take those both out then. And then again, I have concern with some of these things because we're looking at repairs to fire halls and we don't know which ones are going to be, you know, no longer there once we get the study done. So it's hard to put money into a fire hall because we don't know which one. Or two that are going to be removed from our inventory. So this is something, hopefully, I don't know when the study is expected to be completed.
So we're shooting for a January, February to
Okay.
council. But the reality is depending on what that says, it's not gonna happen next year. It's gonna take some time for it to, big decisions to be made and things like that, so. But a lot of these are just, they're minor maintenance,
Mhm.
upkeep items. So,
Yeah, it's just, it comes back to the Roslyn Hall, right? There's so many things we've deferred there because the building isn't what it should be. And so how many, every year it's deferred and deferred. That poor building is gonna fall down on these people one of these days. Because we haven't been doing what we should be doing. So this is why I hope the study will help clear some of that out. Okay, so that's 300,000 gone.
so if I just could, there's some things I wanna highlight through the budget, so you guys are fully aware of what's happening. There's a fire grant in the revenue for 7,500. That's gotta come out. That was the Fire Smart plan that we didn't meet the objectives on.
Okay, that
It got
comes out.
carried forward, but it's not in there. I did up a couple of the budget lines, so the training or the staff development and training has been broken down into two. One is for licensing and things like that. The other is specific to training. That is actually up by $5,000. I find that the medicals and the driver's license renewals are starting to cost more and more money. And the amount of training that's happening. So I've upped that by 5,000. So if you look, there's 21-22 is 15,000. And then there's another 5 on top of that, which is the licensing.
Okay, so you're up that 10,000,
I upped it by 5,000.
5,000, okay.
Let's see, what else did I do here? We do have to take some of the money out, that 7,500 for the flow test and the 17,550, both of those have to come out because they're captured in each vehicle now,
Okay, the
So
flow
it's-
tests and then which other one?
the fuel.
Fuel and oil?
Yeah, the fuel.
33 and 34.
Yeah. So there will be a little bit in the fuel for the small engines and things like that, but each of the trucks now, the fuel is captured in the truck. So that's an adjustment that's gotta happen there. I've upped the bunker gear a little bit.
Can you give us the number that you?
Yeah, I'm trying to do between the two of them because I've got the same challenge. The compressor, the equipment testing,
Yes,
that's 3 lines.
Yeah.
It used to be 1, it's just broken down to be specific. Find the equipment.
those are staying in, aren't they?
They're staying in, it's just broken down.
Yeah.
Fire protection, 2174.
Protective clothing,
Yeah, I upped that by 5,000.
so it's 30,000 now,
It's 25,
25 and you
20
upped
to
it,
25.
and you've upped it to,
And then The other thing that's happened is the emergency management budget line that used to be in the administration has been moved over to fire. So there's the 5,000 that's always been in there for the courses and whatnot, and then there's 4,000 in there for Voyant Alert.
Yeah, I don't know what line that is
Yeah,
either.
I'm trying to figure it out.
Oh, you're looking at your own chart.
Yeah. 2171.
Okay.
Yeah, sorry. So that changes the fire department numbers a little bit because it's rolled in. And then, fire, the extrication, I upped it a little bit, so that's 2173. It's 500 just to try and keep ahead of consumables that we use on extrication. And then I think that was it that I upped. Oh, the last one that's in there is M&R assistance, 2186. So last year there was 15,000 in there. We didn't use any money. And I've put in another 15,000, and I've spoken with John that we set up a reserve fund so that if we don't use the money, it goes into reserve. And if we do have a summer where we have to call the ministry in to help, 15,000 is going to cover like a very minor fire. But we need to build some money up in reserve on that so that if we have a fire that the ministry's called into, that we've got some money put aside.
So in 2024, since it wasn't used, that would go in reserve for the year end and you'd have it come again this year.
Yeah.
Okay.
And shoot for, maybe 3 years worth of that. So next year, then there would be 45,000 in reserve, and then
And you could just leave
hold
it.
off if it doesn't get spent.
Can you come back to 2175 inspections, John? Explain that to me, Sean.
So that was it was $3,500 last budget previous. Last year, when I asked for the inspector, one of the compromises that we add 10,000 into the inspector portion of it. That's where it went to 13,500, and I've just left it. Angela is doing more compliance inspections.
What's the 159 in brackets?
That's just hasn't caught up. Yeah, I've got to look into that.
I'll check into the details. But some refund of some type or something was applied to that account. That's why it's negative.
Yeah, but Angela has invoiced, so I'd have to go back and look into it. Yeah.
All right. Thank you.
That's basically the updates.
Now we're going to go to the bottom of page 32. Oh, that's not there. Nope, sorry. Wrong page.
34.
Where we are going to look at the capital. Yes.
That starts on 33.
Two fire pumper tankers. We've got 3 coming already.
So that's all carry forward. All the trucks are carried forward. No, all those tenders have actually been awarded.
Those were not spent last year. So you're putting them forward in here. So was this money at the end of last year put into reserve?
This, this is, what, you'll see that, we've paid for about 450 so far.
Right.
We're gonna be paying a little bit more for one, the other one is coming. And so if you go up, though, that's the loan proceeds of 1.25
Yes.
million. That's why it's carried over to this year, because we haven't
You
used the
haven't
loan,
taken the loan.
haven't taken the loan.
So this is all this is all last year's.
This is all,
I'm
the
going in my
bottom 3
head.
items.
How
are-
many vehicles is that for?
No,
the bottom 3 items are all from last year.
All from last year.
Yeah.
And that money is that loan?
The loan has not been.
So you didn't take out a loan last year, and that's why it shows up this year.
Yeah.
Okay, that makes it very clear.
yeah, and there's still 2 pumpers that are past their life but until we do the feasibility study, I didn't stick them in here.
Well, for sure not. No.
And then you've got the SCBA radio updates on the top of 34.
Yeah, so if they're highlighted in, well, they would have been yellow in mine, but if they're highlighted, that means they're from last year. And we have, sent out the RFP. And we are either waiting for the award or we have awarded it and the invoice just hasn't come in yet.
Okay, so that's not new money.
That's not new.
And then just to highlight the 9,500, which is the high volume wage X pump, and the 15,000, which is the forestry hose. That's part of that emergency management grant. So that money did not get spent. We doubled it under the grant money.
It got spent, we just got revenue to cover it.
Yeah, okay.
Okay,
Mayor Lucy?
yes.
Yes, and come back to what you said earlier on with, once we see the study come through, when you look at the expense of the exhaust removal, Kakabeka, and the exhaust in Morello and the fourth air furnace, unless the furnace is completely stopped, you're looking at quite a few dollars there. Can we not hold off just in case what the study does tell us?
We could, that's in the final stages of being awarded and coming to council. And I will, I'm pretty confident that Kakabeka and Murillo are not going to be impacted by that feasibility study.
That could be done.
I'd be very careful before I say that.
Councillor Pippa?
That's why I said pretty confident.
Thank you. I'm just wondering if there's a double up of some with regard to the MNR assistance, because in the expenditures, you in item number 2186 is 15,000 on page 32, and you wanted a reserve set up, and yet then again on page 34, you have 15,000 MNR assistance reserve. So is that a duplicate or?
I believe that's transferring the 15,000 from this year into reserve.
Sure.
Okay, that we haven't spent from this year. Okay. Alrighty, and then when we passed a resolution back with regard to the tanker purchase of 90 for 94, a portion of the additional expenses was to come from the savings that we had on the RFP for 21. So that will, I guess, work its way through, but 25's budget, not this year's, correct?
Let John answer that. It's over my head.
Yes, I can repeat that.
I'll show you the resolution later. We can, it was from October, so the fire department, we had a RFP for the tanker 94.
Okay, yeah.
And the budget came in, or sorry, we had budgeted 450,000. It came in at 457. And so the difference was to be taken from the savings that we had from pumper 21.
But we would, I think it was from the 2 rescue trucks. Those were both under the, yeah.
Okay,
So that was,
it'll work its way through for 24
Yes.
then. Okay. And again, no heater hydro increases as had been anticipated in the report.
If we choose and we can realize those savings will be.
Okay.
I would recommend not doing it with the natural gas. Continue to pay market rates, but the hydro, I believe we can save quite a bit. So it'll be in the report.
General recreation on page 35. On down. Last year's budget, Wayne.
I just wanted to comment, the full-time salaries is under 63,000 approximately, and the benefits are under about 20,000. We have 3 full-time people and there's only 2 there. So we gotta add that in there. That's gonna be 83,000 more.
So that's going to increase this part here.
Yeah.
Okay. So they're still close to what they were last year. Plan to. Capital, they plan to buy a new zero-turn motor. Tola Rink Shack, Murillo Minor A. Oh, that was last year. Sorry. Murillo Minor A equipment, NOHFC, but these are all things that come from the grant, right, Chris?
Through the chair, both those items are carry forward from 2024
Yeah.
through the grant, correct?
Through the grant, right. Yes,
Just to note that the air ambulance pad, I believe we received information that said that grant would be $5,000, not 3,500. They approved a increase in their in that.
Mhm.
And playground supplies and their expenditures. Do we have an idea what that was planned for?
Through the chair, no, but I think the 1,500 needs to move up to CSO4 revenue cost.
For the vehicle?
Yes, it needs to move up one column.
Okay.
okay,
Mhm.
no problem, Councilor Vince?
Yeah, just clarification, and I may have missed it when Wayne said that, when you look at full-time salaries, it's quite a bit down. But when you take that number there and then you move over grass cutting salary, it's up $30,000 over the budget. Is that why that you've moved some around there? That's how that came?
The grass cutting salaries will be reduced by an allocation to other such as a cemetery and stuff.
Okay, because right now you've shown 57,000 and we only have $20,000 in the budget, but then how come we dropped so much in the full-time staff salary? From 199 to 139?
You had mentioned, Wayne, about
Yeah.
80,000?
Is that
We
what?
need to add.
that what
Yes.
you- Okay, I missed that.
Another
I knew you
person.
said something on the salary.
There's $83,000 missing in the full-time salary and benefit area in the top.
I didn't hear that. Thank you,
So
Wayne.
that's going to change.
Okay, that's better.
Looking at you and I'm thinking, she's going like this.
Yeah.
Councilor Peacock?
I'm just wondering, because it says there's no fuel allocation, is that due to the fact that it's all going to be broken down by vehicle for future reference? Because the Super Duty F-250 and the CSO3 Silverado surplus and then fuel and oil for the vehicles, there's no budget amounts in there. Are they then, like I say, broken down further with the three vehicles below that line? If you follow what I mean?
So through the chair, the fuel, those are all gas vehicles, so that's based on receipt purchase. They're not in the fuel tracking system that we
Okay.
have for diesel. They're all gas.
Mhm.
So therefore, as the receipts come in, there will be, as John has entered the extra lines here for fuel for each one of them, those costs per vehicle, when they get a slip, will be into those new GLs.
Okay. And will we be receiving any kind of a report with regard to what's been spent from NOHFC and what's left and what we're having carried over to 2025, as well as the municipal portion that we have to pay for that grant?
That wouldn't be done until after it's audited or after, after the year end. So it will be next spring, whatever our finance department has completed the year, January, February.
And I think that when we were on road inspection and we did have a look at the Murillo track fencing, was that not completed? I see the amount is carried over for 2025, but I thought you had indicated that the fencing had been completed.
Through the chair, the yellow stuff in the parking lot that everybody drove in on has to be installed as yet.
Okay.
The NOHFC, that does not have to be spent by what, the end of March of this?
So through the chair, we have an extension till, I believe, May 1st, 2025 for all completion and all billing in. Progress number 1, I believe, is going in this week. And coincide with trying to get as much as we can for fiscal year end 24, so it balances. The 2 leftover projects are the 2 that are listed, and most of them are material, which will be expensed this year. So we have asked for a continuation till, I believe, May 1st, 2025 to be 100% complete all the programs we wanted to do.
Thank you.
Anything else? Then to our landfill site.
So one note, the salaries for leveling are not split between north and south. Salaries for operating, you can see, are split between north and south. Most of the other items are split between north and south. So basically, the leveling salaries will be split between north and south for the next budget update. The total will not change, just the allocation between north and south will be made.
Yes,
On the
Councillor. Ross.
landfill side on soil, we didn't get any. I thought we received a bunch of soil in there.
Through the chair, just as the previous comment in regards to what age of buildings we done, we did not receive any soil in 2024.
Oh, really? I thought I seen trucks going in there.
Through the chair, this is the bulk contaminated soil item that we actively try to recruit.
Yeah.
The soil that we can clearly see day to day, whether it's small venue, small commercial interests in and around the municipality, those fees are recorded in a different line.
Oh, okay.
So yes, you're correct. You see trucks going in and out. But the $100,000 was traditionally that one big job that we would get.
Okay.
Mhm.
I'd say, so that's basically, that's just contaminated, so.
Through the chair, there's 3 different areas of the landfill. The $100,000 contaminated soil goes to a separate area where it has to aerate and be turned over for 2 years prior to being used. The stuff we get day to day is another area, and it has to do with commercial interests and around the municipality that bring their.
Okay.
Councillor Peacock.
Thank you. Hydraulic fuel and oil, as well as 2001 and 2011 capital, compactors. The total budget in 2024 was 30,000, but now it's 60,000?
I believe that's just a duplicate because, so.
Okay.
It has been split out between the 2, so it will be removed from the 30,000 will be removed.
Okay, and for PIL property taxes, just a note, it's only the south landfill site that pays taxes. The north landfill site, we do not pay taxes on. So we don't have to have a line item for the north.
That's it. We're closing the North Landfill site. They didn't pay their taxes.
That's it, because they don't pay their taxes. That's right. Now, in previous years, there's been money set aside for the swipe card, and now we only have $3,000 for punch cards, and nowhere does it indicate anything about the swipe card process that we had discussed earlier in the year. So I'm just wondering the status of that system.
Through the chair, the swipe card system will be up and running in Q5 or first quarter 25. It's away at printing right now. And as you can see, we have a 2025 budget item in punch cards, bottom of page 37 for $3,000. That's to reprint every year. And we will be completing that project in 2024 fiscal.
We will not be implementing an electronic swipe card system at the time.
Okay. Now, my other question is, where are we going to find the funds for the hub assembly repairs that are required for the north landfill site machinery at 31,000 plus? it's not recorded obviously in this budget because it hasn't been paid yet, but where are we gonna find the funds for that?
If we don't have enough funds in this department or in our year-end budget, then it comes from reserves.
Do we need to have a resolution to do that or not?
But you'll find that out when the books are audited.
Next
Next
November. Next
Every year,
November.
every year is an individual year. One does not connect with the other. It's different than regular accounting, totally. Okay. Any other questions on the landfill site? Oh, sorry, Counselor.
Just curious, the hydraulic cylinder replacement south for 75,000, just curious what that was, because that's a really large amount.
So through the chair, the two front cylinders that hold up the blade for the landfill compactor are both at nearing end of life. They're both been scored. They've been resealed a few times. The canister, just to put it in perspective, is probably a 14-inch diameter canister, short throw, high volume. They're expensive. There's more disassembly involved in getting them out. We have been nursing it along, so to speak, and we'll make that evaluation in the spring after this winter. The winter's harder on them than the summer, so we'll take a good peek at it here this spring and bring a report back.
And then the 75,000 for the clay hall, that comes from the reserves.
Correct. Through the chair, we bring that budget item forward based on how we're closing the site. We're currently in the initial phase one as deemed for, I think it's 7 phases in the South Landfill. We're still in phase one. At one point in time throughout this winter, we're going to clear phase two. We've carried that number forward every year. We don't know based on volume and compactive and how it all works out, whether we get out of that. So yes, phase one will be complete from the plan that was presented 5 years ago by True Grit. And we've got 37 years of our landfill capacity over there, blessed. We are coming out of phase one. We will be looking at clay in the spring.
Okay. We have the library in front of us here. They had asked for a 3% increase, which I feel is fair. Are they paying for in essence, it's not, I know it's not actually paying for the use of the Roslyn or Morello Hall for their events? That they're not paying us, but it's showing in the budget?
We invoice them and they pay it.
Okay.
And with regard to that insurance, so what we do is we give them the money to pay the fees here. So with the insurance, I mean, I think we'll just pay it ourselves rather than send them some money and they can pay for it. I don't know, we haven't got that far, but I think that may be what we end up doing.
And I'm just wondering, is the cleaning apportionment services for both Morello and Roslyn, is that really a fair cost? $8,000 for Roslyn and $3,500 for Morello?
Well, they must have a recorded how many times the person is working there.
Through the chair, I would say it's light, if anything.
Yeah, probably weren't charged enough. The problem I have, it's not a problem, but the thing that concerns me is we never ever get an actual report from the library as to what kind of money they have.
Like their bank account.
Balance sheet and profit and expense statement. We just get a request sheet. So I'm not sure members of the council have been on their board. Do they have a reserve somewhere or any money set aside anywhere other than what they ask for?
They have a separate bank account, but they don't use municipal bank.
They have they're separate, I know that, but I'm just saying, we never actually ever get a report from them showing their income and expenses and what do they have in the bank at the end of the day?
Would their audit not show it?
I was gonna say, believe I can share that information
On the audit?
with you for the next
Okay.
meeting.
Oh, it would be in last year's audit book then. Yes, I never thought of that. It's my fault.
Yeah, no, I can,
Okay,
and they provide similar information to this in their budget preparation, so.
No, I'm just wondering about the extra 2,000 they're asking for. If they have that money, why would we have to pay an extra 2,000? Just wondering.
To the best of my knowledge, that is to prepare the new staff and educate the other staff as our librarian is going to be retiring. So they're going to take some training to do that. So that's what the $2,000 was for, to the best of my knowledge.
Staff, they're already paying for the staff, so,
It's an outside training course.
pardon?
I believe it, I believe they're planning to bring an outside trainer in to do the work.
Oh, to do training.
Yes.
Oh,
That's my understanding.
give a run? Okay. What did you just say?
Pain is on fire.
Everybody bring their lunch with them because I think we'll be staying here for a while. Bernie? I think I brought some honey with me.
doesn't have to cross the tracks to get here.
Ooh, not good. I haven't got my stuff with me. It's up home.
Lucy, the 2,000, I had marked it off here on why, and I was hoping that and I realized Maxine is going to retire, and I understand that. But when they put out the proposal for a new employee, that they would get someone that already has the experience as a librarian. And if they have, then what type of training do they need, I guess? And I should have asked the question when they were here because I had them highlighted in here. So I'm gonna.
Because of staff training too. Why is this something that wasn't done before? Why does it have to be?
Well, they had $500 in there, and that's understandable. They, the odd thing comes through there, and that's fine. But yeah, I think it said in the front here in their notes that because they're gonna hire a new librarian. And I thought, well, hopefully it's qualified librarian.
Well, I believe those are mandatory training courses that they have to complete, such as WMIS and all of that stuff. Any employee that's hired here
Oh, yeah.
spends their first, 2 days with Judy going through all of those.
And also someone else is going to have to do the payroll. So there's going to be a training process as far as that goes, because previously Maxine did all the payroll and now it'll be turned over to someone else. So that will take some training time as well.
Again, it would be nice if they could hire someone or have a volunteer that has some knowledge on doing books, then there wouldn't be any training required. I don't know. It's up to council.
It's very, yeah, the library's definite benefit to
As long
to
as
the
it's
community.
noted that there's a one-time training cost and that next year it will not be left in there.
Mhm,
Yeah,
mhm.
yes, it's a one-time training cost.
If you look at the thing here, when the municipal levy, that's up 5%, they're looking for $5,000. And yet the on salary is only a 3% increase. So are they expecting something else in there? I don't know that.
2,000.
Just the 2,000, but that's separate again, the 2,000 this year, you see at the bottom.
Yeah.
So that's over and above. Well, yes, 3 and then 2 is 5, that makes it 5,000, sorry.
Next one we have is the livestock. What is that? And that seems to be,
That was a one-time issue, wasn't it, for this year that was due from previous year, was it not? As far as that expense?
No, without naming names, just sorry. Yeah. These are, the actual amounts that we've paid out in actually, there are two more, two claims still outstanding. These are the claims that we've paid in 2024 for livestock that has been killed, by wolves and coyotes. And crows, I guess, too. I didn't know crows could kill a
Yeah.
calf, but
Mm.
apparently crows can kill a calf. So, this is
Mm.
just, I don't know if it's going to continue, but for the
Cost
most part,
recovery.
it's break even.
Mhm.
It does end up costing us, because, we pay for Larry. But we
and
do get
office administration
an office
time.
administration time and stuff, but the actual disbursements to the farmers are covered by
And,
OMAFRA.
yeah, and usually when something happens somewhere, then they say, oh yeah, okay, we'll put up better fencing or something. They make changes so that it won't happen again.
That is one of the criteria that they
Yeah.
go and they check the fencing and stuff, so. But I was surprised how valuable some of these.
Critters are,
They're
yeah.
worth gold.
Mhm. Mhm.
So there's,
Yeah,
there's no, so the money we get from OMAF is just the same amount that gets paid out?
We get $50.
Oh, okay, so not a lot.
we got an increase. We asked
Didn't
for it,
see
and we
us
got an
pretty small.
increase.
Yeah,
It was 30, was it not? And they gave us 50 now?
yeah, it's just up to
A big increase.
a big increase, so. Yeah, again, I don't know that, like there was some bison, and a few cows, and so.
Am I not correct, though, if I remember correctly, that OMAFRA, you have to send in all the information on those animals and they determine if the value is correct or not?
OMAFRA ultimately determines the value that
That's
each
right.
farmer is paid.
Okay.
We
that's
we
why-
don't determine
That's
that.
right.
Oh,
And
So,
and it's a crapshoot. Sometimes they may send I shouldn't say that, right? Some cows it's 750, some cows it's 3,500 or more. So
depends on the age.
depends
and
on the age and the
type
origin.
of cow.
It's justified.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Oh, I'm not saying.
Based on production and type and all that, because the offspring's is worth a lot of money to some of these cattle, so.
Yeah.
And if happens to the cow and the calf is worth something too. Yeah.
Mhm. So, Larry has requested additional training on this. I've contacted OMAFRA. And they just. So,
Not much training.
so. So anyways, because it is an air, so. I
Is
don't know
it
how much
Larry?
we want to get into it, but it is a little bit of dispute, because Larry will go out and he'll tell the farmer, I don't think you're gonna have a claim here. And so he'll say, like, I don't want to do it. But according to OMAFRA, we should do it, and then they make the claim. And Larry's like, well, we're gonna lose money if we don't. I mean, we only get $50 back anyways, so we're gonna lose the money on any claim. But anyway, so that's where he'd like the training to be.
So, yeah, so Larry's the one that does it now. We used
Yeah.
to have someone else do it before.
Still
I
do.
didn't
It's a
realize
different
that
Larry.
Yeah.
Oh, it's a
Different.
different Larry.
That's
Yeah.
a different Larry.
Larry,
I
Larry,
didn't
they're
think it was our Larry.
No.
Oh, it's not Larry Ayers, no.
No.
it's
Yeah, I was gonna say, wait a minute, we have another Larry, yeah.
I've never heard Larry.
Larry, I'm sorry, it's Larry Needham.
Yes,
Okay.
that's. Yes.
That's the gentleman who does it.
Mhm.
Oh, if he needs training, he should be.
Yeah,
Well, I guess he goes to the web, and he looks.
yeah, I don't know.
Mhm.
So.
Okay, it's 10 o'clock. We've been here for 2 hours. How about if we take a 5-minute, 10?
That'd be a great idea.
Okay.
Okay, let's take turn us off here. and-
Yeah.
Hold on again. So Murillo Hall is looking at the end of the day at the same deficit as they were when they started. So. Working on fire alarms for capital and the sewage lift pumps. We talked about that earlier this year. Piping, so.
And those two add up to the transfer from reserves, correct?
That's right.
Mhm.
So capital's coming from reserves. Any questions?
Just a question on
Councillor
the
Hess?
waterproofing, I thought it was done, doesn't it? On, you're talking about
Mhm.
still the, Marilla Hall, right?
Yeah,
Mhm.
Yeah.
Mhm.
that's just written down.
Oh,
there.
perimeter wall proofing,
So that's
2
through the
years
chair,
ago, wasn't
that's carry forward
Yeah.
of a couple years ago where
Yeah.
those job descriptions
That
were done.
account just hasn't been changed, Alan.
but it's done though, didn't
It's
it?
done,
They're all done, yeah.
yeah,
Yep,
Oh,
there's zero.
Oh, okay.
and the roof is done. So those can.
Okay.
Just a question.
Councillor Peacock?
Yes, thank you. In the city, they really had an issue with grease causing a backup in the system. Just wondering, I don't know how often the fryers are used at, whether it be Murillo or Roslyn, but do we still get the grease trap pumped out on a regular basis there?
Yes, operationally we do, yes.
Okay, and what about the Norwest? Do they have that done as well?
Yes, same vendor, same time.
Okay, thank you.
All righty, then we go to the museum. We did discuss it with them, with the representatives. It was nice to see that they had pulled in more income.
Yeah.
Than last year, so.
You know, they're much more aggressive, both
Yeah.
we have now and then. They look forward to doing things rather than, having to tell them that was, should have been done yesterday.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's nice to work with that board.
Right.
I was just surprised at the increase in salaries, because that's just about doubled from what previous year. I know that they want to increase their hours, but just the same, that seems like a big increase in
Increase
salary.
the hours of 2 people.
And again, can their donations be earmarked into a reserve fund? Or is it just offset by the expenditures?
I believe if they have any surplus at the end of the year that isn't used, it will go into the museum reserve. There already is one there.
Yeah, overall, the museum, if there's a surplus, will go in, but the museum donations currently are not
No.
tracked separately or anything.
It's just
The
part of it.
majority of the donations are not earmarked for anything specifically.
No.
They generally consist of money that put into like boxes at
Donation boxes, yeah, people
Yeah.
just drop money into there rather than paying to come in.
so.
Chris, would you anticipate that there would need to be some electrical work done for that museum air conditioning?
No, we're looking at 2 window units.
Oh, okay. That makes sense.
All righty, the Norwest Recreation Center, the arena. Any questions on this? Councillor Peacock?
I realized that we had passed a bylaw earlier in the year that the rates for concession and rates for skating have increased. Is that reflected really in what we anticipate in the budget as well? The benefits, it shows just $45, so there must be something going on with the program there as far as benefits only being $45.
Just looking at the results, for the actual, I'll have to check. I believe there's probably a cell reference issue in the formula. That's why they're showing up as blank, because obviously, we had 34,000 in salaries in Q2.
Hmm.
Obviously, they don't disappear in Q3, so I have to,
Yeah, exactly.
There's been a problem there.
Mhm. And one other question, believe it was last year, we had the debit machine being used at the Norwest. Are we finding that being used at all, or are there maintenance fees that go with that, or how does that work?
Through the chair, the first year that the debit machine was in, it was underutilized because there was a sign that said cash only. That sign has now been removed and we'll see where it goes from there.
Okay. Is there a cost associated to that though?
yeah, we pay a monthly fee for that, about $100 a month or so.
Yeah, so if
Between
it's-
60 and 100, depends.
So if it's not
It's
used, then,
canceled in the summertime, obviously.
oh yes, okay,
So,
yep.
yeah, but I would encourage people if they to use it, but it may just be a cultural thing, which is that people are used to paying for things with cash,
Mhm.
Yeah.
and they
Used
always
to it.
pay with cash. So,
Mhm.
so so.
And so we could also see a reduction in the hydro. Should you go a different way with regard to that?
It's yes.
Okay.
Councillor Campbell.
Is there any opportunity to increase advertising revenue, or is that? Seems like it's been stable, and I understand it's complicated with the tenants that are in there, but.
Yeah. Mhm.
Through the chair, you're correct that advertising is fixed to our tenant with a lease arrangement that expires in 2026. I will say that the city's advertising has gone up dramatically, and I believe we'll be following suit in 2026.
Anything else?
Page, we're going to talk about page 45 at all.
Yes, please. Yep. Mhm.
Let's do it.
So, so just a note for page 45, that, we have included community infrastructure fund grant of 325. We don't know if we're going to get that or not.
Mhm.
And if you don't,
If we don't, I'll let the director of operations speak to it specifically, but there are two items on the list I believe we will not be doing. But there are two items on the list that we may have to do even if we don't get the grant.
Mhm.
So, I wanna-
So through the chair, the condenser replacement and the chiller rehab have to go next year based on what we're going through currently. But yes, as John has mentioned, the 325.5 is related to getting a grant, which would go towards those two projects. The jet ice water treatment would become a fall off. The suspended heaters in the spectator would fall off. And the Zamboni fire door would be revisiting that item in regards to how we could do that. But as everybody's aware, we are fighting the condenser and the chiller currently.
yes, that has to happen. Okay. Oh, Councillor Fist and Councillor Camphoff.
Yes, on the chiller and the condenser, you said there was a waiting period about 3-4 months after you ordered that. Once the budget passes, I certainly hope you're gonna put the order in, because have you had any more leaks since the last two? So that is because colder weather now is helping somewhat, it's not running as much.
So through the chair, when we experienced the leaks in August and September, we were running the plant 21 hours a day. It seemed to be running. I went to the rig this morning and it worked for 4 hours between 9 o'clock last night and 6:30 this morning.
Yeah,
Oh,
Mhm.
world of difference.
Yeah, that's on the exact hour meter.
But you will consider ordering it if it takes that long. That's still true.
Through the chair, you pass this budget, I'm on the phone with Simco the
Good.
next day.
I think we need to, because if it goes down, we're in trouble.
you're in trouble because you rented out the
Mhm.
building. Yeah. Councillor Camp.
Just a update on the Zamboni replacement.
So through the chair, we have the Zamboni order placed. It is scheduled to be here the 24th of February. If not before, we've pushed it back to March the 1st, just so everybody's aware. We have 3 tournaments in February where we aren't going to be switching Zambonis midstream. We will have both in the building. And we are going to March the 1st, the anchor tenant leaves for 3 weeks on the road. And during that time, we will be experimenting, so to speak, with the electric Zamboni. And the propane one will be left in that building for the remainder of the year, just in case. So yes, the bill will be coming, delivery gets here. I think it's scheduled for the 23rd, 24th of February, supposed to land here. We told them to back off a week because we don't have room for it.
Okay.
In the materials and supplies, the travel and training, would that training be how to use the new Zamboni?
For the chair, our offer to purchase RFQ includes on-site training of all staff for 2 days.
Okay, good.
Okay. All right, planning and development. It comes with this.
Yes, and again, here we're looking at the salaries. Again, you're looking at 12.6% increase budget over budget. Any particular reason why that's so high?
I don't have the exact figure, but those numbers for 2024 budget are understated. The increases, those special increases in 2023 were not put in the 2024 budget.
Okay, you don't know what they are, okay. Consultant fees, $15,000 for consulting fees. Do we need to have that way up there, that high?
Well, whenever we have a plan of subdivision or carry,
Well, I understand, but we're only spending half of that and we're still budgeting that high, so. And
That-
the next question, the
Just a minute,
official plan
Alan.
review.
Eric's gonna answer
Sorry.
your question.
Oh, I'm sorry. Didn't hear
I
you.
was just going to say that we are accounting in case like he was supposed to travel here for one of the meetings this year too, which got canceled. But we have to account for him potentially traveling here if necessary.
To
Is
do
that for
what
the
then,
official
Jerry?
plan?
For yeah, that was when we were doing the official plan review.
Okay, so this is the 5th year now that you're into that then, and so it's gotta be done this year, the review?
It was actually passed in 2018, so we're, I think, in the 7th year. We could wait till year 10 and just continue to do housekeeping amendments, or we
I
could,
see.
or we
Oh,
could
okay.
do.
And so as our planner, where would you suggest that council should go? Can we get away with some amendments and keep it another 2 years?
So in talking with the ministry and other folks in the area, it's a lengthy process. If we start now to do like the whole 10-year process, we might be done by year 10.
Really?
Mhm.
Wow.
Yeah, it's a long process. We have to have a lot of public meetings and
Consultation with the ministry is
Yeah.
taking upwards of a year.
okay.
Just to finish up the 6,000, I'm clear, that's for 1 year, and if it takes up 6,000 every year till we finally complete it?
The 6,000 was when we were going to just do the 5-year review, and that was going to be done internally. But now with the new PPS out, and the 10-year review quickly approaching, I'm not sure if we should be going higher. I didn't put this number, I didn't actually put any of these numbers in. So I'm not sure if we should be looking at, I would have to speak with the ministry and talk to our consultant and see if we should go bigger and start the major project rather than the housekeeping amendments.
Okay. That's all the questions I had, just for clarification.
I'd asked Parkland. Do we still get Parkland money? And does it show up anywhere?
I'm not sure where it would show up in the,
It's in reserves.
Mhm.
Mm.
Mhm.
That's where it is. It's in the reserves. It's not shown here.
we get $1,000 for every. new
Yeah,
lot.
for every one of you, so I
Yeah.
just,
So why would it not show up?
Well, it's in Parkland because it
There
goes
are-
into the reserve. It's not in their account.
Account for Parkland?
Yes, but there was nothing there. That's why I'd asked previously.
Oh, there must be money in the parkland
There was,
reserve.
there's nothing showing, I don't think.
Yes.
I think that's what I'd asked earlier.
Mhm.
Yeah,
Mhm. Page 22. Yeah, they all gone.
Mhm.
Mhm. Parkland.
Yeah.
Right, it's zero.
yeah, that's what I'm saying. There was not that. Did you spend? That's what I was
Must have.
No,
questioning.
Left.
All I was questioning.
0086, John.
yeah,
Well, nothing there.
Mhm.
yeah, well, there's money there.
Yeah, I,
Yeah.
Does it show that? So where is it?
That's a
Yeah.
good question.
yeah, that's.
Mhm.
You spent it.
I spent it. But,
Oh, that's where that new truck came from.
no, that's the lazy river. That's the lazy river for Laura Gibson.
Oh, okay.
Oh.
Wants to have built here.
Oh, okay. The lazy river.
The water park, yeah.
Councilor Peacock?
With regard to Lakewood Rural Planning Board, is that something that they provide us with the funds once they get them?
That comes from the province.
Okay, so we haven't,
Province pays them, they pay.
Every year they
Yes.
pay it. Sometimes not until the fall, but they pay it every year.
We haven't received it yet because we only just got our final audit statements last week.
okay.
Jeez.
And then as far as expenditures, materials and supplies, it was $500 and it's increased to 2,000. Is there something you're anticipating that you're going to be requiring?
That's consistent with previous years, so drafting, or like printed paper and stuff has significantly gone up in price to run the plotter, that type of stuff.
Do we use the plotter that often?
No, but still have to, even if you only use it once a year, you still gotta, or well, not once a year, but just the ink on that is very expensive.
We use it fairly often.
Mm.
And those are, so that's where the supplies for.
And then with regard to postage, the postage machine is tallying who uses what, and that'll be done at the end of the year as well then?
I believe it is. I don't know, if I think Christina is doing most of the posting, so I'm not sure. I don't, how she's entered it. So I
Okay.
don't know what we've done for posting this year for notices and the like, so,
It'll be checked at the end of the year.
yeah.
Mhm.
Okay. Oh, our favorite, Public Works.
Mm.
Okay. Any questions on page 47?
On 48.
Oh, you're 48?
Yeah.
Okay, all right.
And again, just the interesting increases to repair and maintenance. It's $163,000 increase over budget. What's happening here? Are we running into some trouble, Chris?
Through the chair, where's the 163?
Well, yeah, and if you go with number 3702 to 3742 and just basically run them there, and that is $163,000 extra expense. And it just makes you think, like, if we have that much expense, what's happening to our equipment? And we've always been known to look after our equipment.
Yeah, what's happening there is that with the new GL accounting system, the fuel, all that kind of stuff is separated, but for reporting, I rolled it all up into the one account rather than having 3701 where we would have 5 accounts underneath it, just to simplify it. So you'll notice that 32, 43, 44, and 45 are 0. So that's what you're seeing. So if you go to page 4, bottom of page 47, you see there's those lines are 0.
Just for simple terms.
Just for simple.
You had 150,000, 10,000 and 24,000
Yeah.
in 2024, which
That's
is
what you'll see.
184,000 and you divide it by 7 units. Therefore, your cost per unit goes up.
So that's,
Because there isn't anything on the budget side for those numbers.
they've just all been rolled into that one
vehicle.
because otherwise I'd have like 4 pages of vehicle expenses.
So, but then for administration's assistance if something's wrong with the vehicle. We could see that in those numbers.
Yes. So through the chair, the anomaly this year is the budget from 24 has fixed costs, and in 2025, everything.
Yeah.
Tires, safeties, stickers, headlights, fuel,
All
loops,
separated.
all by unit.
Yeah.
So.
So then you
we're-
can see what units really
so-
costing you money.
So when we're running 27 units on Public Works.
Yeah.
You take $150,000 of fuel right off the bat, divide by 27 units.
Yeah.
And that's based on what they've used in a calendar year on the tracking system. We've parlayed that forward. Now, if fuel goes to $2 a liter, it's another anomaly you're gonna see in 26. Correct? So we have another fuel tax, carbon tax coming on January 1st. These dollars are in there, they're embedded in each unit.
Yeah.
And they're still tracked individually. So if our cost per fuel at the tank farm goes up, those numbers will be up next year.
Councillor Peacock?
Thank you. I believe that the definitions of the vehicles now have to be updated. I don't think that they're current because now we have a different, like a newer grader, and that's why I was asking if we would be getting a list of all the equipment ages or project vehicle numbers and what type of vehicle it is that's associated to it. So
Yeah, so under the new accounting system, each vehicle has its own name description. And as a ID,
Mhm.
and then you will have accounts for like I said, for license, fuel,
Mhm.
repairs and maintenance, all that kind of stuff. What I will do for the next draft is I will include a separate cross tab for vehicles that you can look any vehicle and see what has been budgeted for the individual component parts for that vehicle. It won't be in a specific department. I'll put it as an appendix at the end. So you can say if you wanted to look at whatever Public Works 29, and you can see where that 13,648 comes from and break it down. So I'll do that and I'll include that in the next draft.
and then with regard to 3741 and 3742, so that would be the excavator and the Kubota. They were $2,500, the minimal expenses, and yet now they're 11,000. Just wondering.
Chair, that's based on the hour meters that we used and the fuel that was assigned to it in 2024. We've parlayed that through, as John mentioned, we put the fuel out of a general expense and applied it to the unit. So we spent $9,000 roughly in fuel on the tracked excavator last year.
Okay. And the diesel generator, that's the one that's out the back? Okay, and we're good to go? No expenses this year? Okay.
If I can add, it's the same breakdown as the fire truck. Right, so they're all the vehicles are the same.
Yeah.
breakdown.
So like I said, so I'll do it for every vehicle and like I said, fire, Larry, bylaw truck,
Mhm.
all that, and you'll be able to see what for each one.
And then back to page 47, the 3701. Is that the vehicle that's going to the Rural Heritage?
CSO3 is going to Rural Heritage
Oh, so that was a public, community services vehicle.
back in the day, yes.
Okay. Thank you.
And one further thing, you gotta add to the salaries, that one person that we removed from the administration that swung over to
Yeah.
Public Works, you have to add that to it, so that's quite an increase already. We got 12.3% the way it is, so that's gonna add that some more yet, but again, if it's understated, I understand, but I can't read understating.
I think that number you see 750,654 includes the cost of the operations clerk.
Okay, oh, that's already added in there, so
Yep.
then it should have been moved to the other, okay. Done, scratch it off. And the increase is probably because it's understated, that true? Increase,
I think this line is appropriate. the 2024. I have to check those figures out, but I do think those are those 5 or those 4. That's what was actually budgeted there.
Is the Public Works contract up this year? Or is it
Next year.
next year?
Oh,
Next year is community services, 2 years after that is public works.
Okay.
Yeah, we're looking at the community service, August 1st. Expires July 31.
Runs with the term.
Thank you. One other question. Summer student grant, did we not apply for one this year or we applied and didn't get it?
We received a grant amount, and it was for this student. But it went into, we haven't received the payment for it yet. So I'll follow up on that. We were successful. And I believe Amy has submitted the paperwork that was due at the end of September. And so I'll see when the money comes.
So the grant was for 6,000 and we paid out 79.18. Is that up to date then? For the student salary?
I believe actually probably what ended up happening is the grant may have been recorded into 3111 instead of being properly recorded into
Oh, I see.
0312. I'll check with.
I was gonna say, yeah, because the Q2 shows one amount and Q3 shows less, so.
Yeah.
Okay, if you could check that, thank you.
other questions? Okay. Page capital. I believe our OSIF grant is going up next year. At least I got a phone call one day saying that our OSIF grant was going up. Nothing was sent to here yet.
The number reflects that, I think.
I'll check. I did recently receive an email about that.
Oh,
and-
okay, wait a minute, though, the actual was 468 last year?
State.
Oh, to date, so.
Today. So I did receive, but perhaps the email arrived after the
Yeah, because I
information was
yeah, I
prepared.
got a phone call and was told that the OSIF grant would be increasing, which what next year? Next couple of years, I believe. So,
Yeah, I know, I did get an email.
Yeah.
But like I said, it probably came after this was prepared.
And once again, I would like to request that OCIF grant go to water. I mentioned it a couple of times and I just think that it'd be better off moving it
we
to
don't
the,
need it to water anymore. That 300,000 was spent this year. Is it gonna be paid off next year for the arsenic?
The 347 so far on the arsenic treatment plant will be expensed in 2024.
Yeah.
So how we pay for that,
We'll decide that at the year end.
Yeah, we can allocate the 2024. I believe we do have another payment coming. And that amount can be allocated however you guys.
That's,
Choose to
it's a
do that.
decision made once we do the year end.
Yeah, and it would be similar to the resolution, council resolutions where we do with transferring to reserves and all those kind of things.
Right.
And transferring actual amounts to different departments. So it would just simply be part of that resolution.
That's right. Okay. Yes. Councilor Peacock?
with regard to expenditures, Public Works roofing carryover. In 2023, $66,000 was deferred for the roofing. In 2024, we had a budget of 105,000. And being carried over to 2025, now it's 210. Can you explain?
Through the chair, that is correct. On-site meetings with some potential vendors have showed us some issues in regards to that building. Therefore, it was not completed this year as planned, and a revised budget put forward going forward to 25.
And the Cooper Road, was that just to redo the surface treatment on the existing road, not further south from where the developer is to expand it?
Through the chair, the Cooper Road is paved. That was for a shave and pave if required. Didn't know if the contract was gonna get done. He completed his paving portion and we've been deferred it as of late in the year and not required at this time.
Okay, thank you.
And Twin City, those two items, is that dependent on when the lights get put in?
Okay, so there's a whole bunch of issues with Twin City.
Yeah.
The first two, the priority capital 1, capital 2, the railway crossings, Twin City and Vibert, those are go through the railway company.
Right.
Those costs were estimated and given to me. As soon as we make a decision on this budget, I have to let them know to order the precast.
Yeah.
Okay, so the precast that's currently on Twin City Crossroads is gonna move over to Vibert to finish that one off. They're gonna do 2 next year. Same style as what they did on Pole Line this year. Further to that, on Twin City Crossroads, to your point, I broken up the project into 2 phases. One is from Highway 1117 to Highway 130. That is conditional. That's either going to be work for our widening on our portion to tie in with the potential work at the intersection with the MTO. Cautionary tale, MTO hasn't asked us for any money, nor have they called the job yet.
That's right.
Okay,
So we don't know
Cautionary
if it'll
tale.
happen. We
cautionary
don't
tale.
know if it'll happen this year.
Correct. The secondary, the 4th job on Twin City Crossroads is the last portion, which is from Highway 1117 to the municipal boundary, which includes Pole Line Road intersection. Now, as you can see up top in the Nords funding, prior year Nords fund of 545 coming forward, that would be a candidate to do that portion if we get a potential development on that corner. We've all talked about that corner in regards to doing something with them. It needs to be straightened, it needs to have proper turning radiuses, and it needs to have some sight lines improved coming out on the north end of it. That's why I broke that project into 2 portions. So one portion would be if the development happens, second portion would be if we have to come to the table with the MTO.
Yes. Okay. So they may not, one or neither may not happen in 25.
Through the chair, the project at Twin City Crossroads and Arthur Street was supposed to be tender called in October. That didn't happen. I check every Wednesday. It still hasn't happened. It's not on their books. It's not even on, as far as we know, it's gonna be a winter call, which means they've missed a season,
Yeah.
fall season, spring, where they could be doing that work. So we'll see what happens here.
Okay,
We watch the bid list every Wednesday.
okay. Thank you. Councillor Peacock?
I think the other elephant in the room is going to be the Hearthstone Bridge.
Oh, I've already crossed that off. Don't worry about that.
Are we putting money, sorry, Chris wants to talk about it.
Through the chair, as everybody's aware, Hearthstone Bridge comes back every year.
I know.
This started before my time,
Mhm.
2012. You had public meetings. He came up with engineers' reports, the whole 9 yards. It is a big project. That cost of $6 million represents a single lane Bailey across the existing piers. Now, to bring it into perspective, in 2012, you had a rehabilitation budgeted by a consultant of $3.8 million. Those costs are probably triple.
Mhm.
So you're probably looking in the neighborhood of 11 to 12 million to replace what you currently have.
We don't have $12 million. We don't have 6 million either.
Again, through one of my discussions with a counselor, I don't have the tool to not put it on the budget.
You're right. No, I agree. You have to put it on the
Comes
budget.
up as backlog and asset management. It comes up as a liability with our insurance company.
Yeah.
There's a whole bunch of issues with this structure. I bring it forward every year and I'll continue to do that.
Good for you, just so we don't forget it. Councillor Bliss?
Yeah, when you really look at the width or the length of that bridge, it's unreal. does it need to be that wide? Can we not put some type of culvert affair down there and bring your road slope down in there? And we certainly, you don't need the width, 1/3 of it, I'm sure will carry the water at high time.
So through the chair, I'll try to tackle this one. You're dealing with Navigable Water Act, you're dealing with Transport Canada, you're dealing with Fisheries and Oceans, you're dealing with OPG, and you're dealing with Fort William Historical Park and everybody south of that or east of that. This is not something that would be done without spending ballpark 300 to 500,000 in EA assessments. If council so chooses to go down that path, it would be a 2 to 3 year undertaking, to the best of my knowledge.
Well, that'd be nice. 3 years is good.
Yeah, but it's 300,000 a year just. for
I would,
study.
yeah.
Doesn't matter.
We would have, we've had an in-depth study done in 2012. It's a fairly robust binder. It's 13 years old. It doesn't apply anymore. Based on the recommendation of the engineer, 2 years ago, we should be looking at that bridge yearly. By law, it's biannually, every second year, which is coming up again this year. We are going to get another detailed assessment of the condition of that structure.
Mhm. So, I mean, it's just, how can you expect a municipality to spend almost all their income on one bridge?
Through the chair, as I mentioned, it shows up as a backlog in our asset management strategy. It shows beyond end of useful life.
Yeah.
It has been weight restricted down since before my time. It's not getting any better.
Mm-mm.
There's going to become an issue at one point in time where it happened 2 years ago when we got put in by the corner by our insurance adjuster. I do not wish to be doom and gloom, but a decision has to be made in how we go forward with that structure.
Councillor Miss?
Well, I think a year or so or two, maybe I made a suggestion. There was only 14 homes on Oliver side of that bridge. The remainder is all the other municipalities using it. So if we improved, I think it's called Luckens Road, and just close that bridge altogether, that's your turnoff. You're only dealing with 14 of our people. That's all you're dealing with. Can we do something for those people? Because the furthest they'll make them, I think it's 1.5 miles, if I'm correct, from the close to the bridge to Luckens Road. Is that about right? Close. Anyway, that's all you're looking at for the extra travel time for those folks that live in our municipality. So do we spend $6 million for 14 residents?
You'd have to upgrade the Luckens Road and chip seal it or something, because you cannot give them a gravel road to drive on all the time. Yeah.
And I understand that, but it's only half ours, the other half belongs to municipality of O'Connor, so we make some kind of an agreement there, but anyway, I think maybe that might be an alternative to look at. It's gonna be a lot less than $6 million.
I know that the hill is a challenge.
Yeah, so through the chair, I have no problem putting in our capital work to do our portion of Luckens. In order to keep the residents happy, as Councillor Viss has stated, maybe we have to do something. The 4 kilometers that is O'Connor's would have to be addressed.
Yeah. But O'Connor residents do use that route. So. Yes.
And what other type of repairs are going to be needed? I see you had bridge rehab based on 2023 report of $450,000. And then you have 12,000 in biannual bridge inspections. So what is it that is required for bridges? That there's no account number, sorry.
I'll be quite honest with you, I don't know where the 450,000 came from.
Oh, okay.
To me, that looks like it's out of place because the carryover on the bridges from last year should equal 83,000. Carried that forward plus the 12,000 for bridge inspections for this year. And I know there is not an extra 300,000 in bridge repairing work.
Well, that's good news.
Well, yeah, the 450, that does not make sense to me.
Thank you.
We had carried forward 83,000, I believe, on two bridges on Candy Mountain that wasn't performed this year.
Mhm.
Plus, there would be some more work in the 2023 annual report, but it doesn't equal 450,000. We'll review that number for you.
Thank you. And I think there, if we're on page 50, I think there's some things that are awry in that. I was speaking with John with regard to Pebblestone Road. I said, what did we do for $230,000 on Pebblestone? Apparently it was Miller Paving and
That's allocation of,
yeah, so the allocations aren't done correctly.
so it's not specific to that one, but the money has been spent.
And the pole line road, that's a carryover again from previous year, even though we spent 12,000, we need to spend another 12. Pole line road, Vibert to Nicolettes.
We did not complete. Based on the pole line intersection with the railway crossing, we had to go extra width there. I deferred the piece from Nicolettes to Vibert. I pulled that off of this 2024 construction season and brought it forward to 25 because of the issues we had with the railway company at the just down the road from it.
So that this year, 2024's repairs and maintenance and single service treatment and everything, nothing like that has been allocated correctly to each of the road sections. Am I right?
Specific to pole line from Vibert to Nicolettes was deferred to the 12,152 was allocated to the pole line road between Nicolettes and Bolter to deal with the railway crossing extra width we had to perform because of the angle of the tracks. So instead of going over budget on the capital, I deferred the 12,152 due to the railway tracks, which I was committed to, and the 12,740 was spent on that portion of the track. 12,152 has to be done between Vibert and Nicolettes next year.
Okay. But the other roads, like I say, the single surface treatment, things like that, that'll all get sorted out at year end or prior to, as far as
Through the chair, the GLs are accounted for as the invoicing comes through. Once the dollars are inputted into the system, that is not, they're coded on the invoice leaving my office properly.
and is the allocation for Spence Road correct? 55,000?
Through the chair, we didn't do any work on Spence Road this year.
These are relate to the previous GL codes. And like I said, they will be assigned to the projects at the end of the year when all of those costs are assigned to projects.
Okay. So I would say that some of your more costly things are a loader, a backhoe, and a float.
So through the chair, the loader, backhoe and float are all in the realm of asset management, 15-year life cycle on our mobile frontline equipment. Where we sacrifice that strategy is, as Councillor Campup had mentioned during the break, we sacrifice that strategy on some of our low usage units. These particular three things are frontline. The float, 125,000 for the float. For those of us that remember, when we bought the bulldozer out of Florida in 2016, we got a good value float that same year out of Southern Ontario. And it has now reached the point where we are going to be spending money on it and it's not worth it. That's where we're at. It at that time was 32 years old when we bought it. We got 8 years out of it. So it was a very good purchase and we'll probably get half of what we purchased it for back. It doesn't make sense to keep spending money on something that's now going to be 40 years old. So those are our three capital replacements for this year on the mobile fleet. Our vehicle strategy in regards to the plow trucks, frontline plow trucks, they're still running on a 9-year cycle as traditionally it has. And we don't anticipate any, our plow truck for this year is supposed to be here, third week in December is what I'm heard. I have a salesman coming in my office tomorrow to bring me a set of keys and a VIN number, so. Hopefully we get it before the snow flies, but that hasn't happened as yet.
Okay. Any other questions, Councillor Peacock?
Once again, when the RFQ was approved for the plow truck, there was a portion of it, $40,970 as an overage that was to come from roads equipment reserve. I'm just wondering, is that allocated in here somewhere?
No, that will happen when the year end is done because they might not need to take so much out of the reserve.
Okay,
So that none of those things happen until they've completed their year end.
as long as they're noted, that's the main thing.
I'm certain that the treasurer notes all of those things and knows where to put it.
Yeah, so in regards to the current year funds in and out of the reserve, like I said, so that will come to council in a form of resolution to move money in or out of reserves
And if
based
we-
on where we are at
That's right.
the end of the year. So as we may be under budget on certain items that were announced as deferred, we may not require to transfer that whole amount out. We don't generally transfer single transactions in out and out of reserves every
Not till
time
the
they
year
differ
end.
from the budget.
I'm sorry, Alan.
Oh, Councillor Allen, yes?
Yeah, just come back to what Councilor Peacock said, the resolution stated the exact amount of dollars and stuff we're gonna take out of reserves. If that's the case, why would we do it then? Like, explain it to me, why, I try to understand, like, once the resolution is passed, the exact dollar numbers are there, why is it not transferred at the time?
Because you might not have to transfer it at the end of the year because the
But we
roads.
got the right number already there, we know
Just
that.
for that, no, but if you don't have that, if you have extra money left in the Public Works Department, if you've got a surplus at the end of the year, you might be able to take some of that 43,000 out of there.
I understand that,
Transfer a little bit.
but that's not what the resolution says. That's my point. You see what I'm saying? We're not doing what the resolution is saying, like, is that proper procedure? I guess is my question, just for clarification, so I understand, because like, when she read that, I thought, well, wait a minute, why isn't that happening? We gave the exact dollar numbers to
Well,
$60 or $49.
we looked
Why
at-
is it not happening?
We looked at what it was budgeted for and what it actually cost, and we just took the difference.
I just clarification, so I
guess we
understand
could-
that.
I guess we could put in the resolution if required.
No, that would change that then. That's probably right. That's more because when I just heard her read that on, I said, well, why are we not
Yeah,
doing it?
we
If
could
we,
put if
we
required.
agreed to it.
I believe, my understanding was it was an if required.
If required, so
Oh,
we have to
understood.
put that in the
Okay.
resolution.
All right, if
Yes.
that would have said that, this, then that's probably a good point.
Yeah.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Yeah, and I understand a little bit more. Okay, that's why.
Secondary to that notion is in regards to big ticket items that are where there's a surplus or a price on the back end on the revenue when we dispose.
Right,
If that doesn't recognize the revenue when we go to surplus it, then your transfer would be more.
right.
So when it's specific to item by item, to your point of a department being under, that's where those things would balance.
Yeah.
Because we show dispersals up top as revenue,
Mm-hmm.
show operating capital X. If you're missing revenue, that's gonna throw the specific
That's right.
item off, maybe not necessarily the department.
That's right.
Through the chair, the revenue up top includes surplus and it's revenue to the department.
Yeah,
It's, we could go line by line, absolutely. But if we don't sell that plow truck for $65,000, sell it for 30, your reserve transfer to cover the cost is now 75.
and what you're doing is you're having a whole bunch of
Oh,
survey back and.
Which is why they're done at the end of the year.
Surplus back and forth, back and forth. It's too confusing.
Great.
Counselor Peacock?
Now, with regard to the loan payment infrastructure, this year it says 701,000, page 50,
Yep.
sorry. And nothing has been, we didn't pay that loan yet?
We have not, we did not require the loan to complete the project. We're working with Infrastructure Ontario to secure the loan. So we have not made a payment yet in 2024. Based on the discussions with Infrastructure Ontario in terms of what they project the rate to be and what we actually need to borrow, as Chris was successful in bringing the project in under the original budgeted amount. The revised
Lower.
payment would be 508 a
Yes.
year.
And I'm sorry, can you remind me which project that would have been?
That's the Kakabeka Falls paving
Okay.
project
Mhm.
and related.
Mhm.
So it
And
was
some in
originally at
Roslyn.
2.8 and now we're going to be 2.1.
Kakabeka and some little bit in Roslyn.
Roslyn, yes.
Okay. Any further questions on the roads? Budget?
So just so I'm clear for the next one. We are going to leave the Twin City projects in, even though they're dependent on other events. Is that correct? Okay. Public Works roofing is staying in. We are removing the bridge rehab for 450. And we're going to put 83-2 carried forward from Candy Mountain. And we are removing the Hearthstone Bridge amount. Okay. And I will update the OCIF based on the email I
Whatever,
received.
because I was told it was gonna go up. 25, 26. Okay, and then we have the Roslyn Hill.
So just to get back, I'm just like, the problem we have, go back and we would look at Pebblestone, Spence, Mackey stuff. Problem we have is our old GL. We had 10 codes that we had to squeeze all of the projects into for the year. And, you know, we just don't have enough room given the number of projects we have. So amounts have to get put into these accounts to be held until we can, at the end of the year, maybe clear out some new accounts to post them into. So with the new GL system that we have, each one of these things that you see listed here that we finally put in the budget will have its own GL code. We'll have 9,000 or we'll have 99,999 of these that we can possibly do. So hopefully we'll be able to go for a few years. So just to clarify that up, it's not, it's just, like I said, we're trying to
It's going
squeeze.
to be better.
It's going to
just
be
we
better.
gotta get through this year.
Yeah, and like I said, we're trying to squeeze 20 projects into 10 codes.
Yeah.
And it's just not going to work. So,
You had mentioned we won't be using it in 2025
no, we'll have the new GL in place in 2025.
for
The
use
new
come
codes.
January?
Come January, we
Perfect.
will have it in place. We'll start with the old, we'll have it in place. So Unisoft has released the updates. They haven't released it to us because we're actually a larger municipality. So we're not on the first round of implementation, but we should be in the January implementation phase. And at that point, we'll be able to take this information and put it into the new GL. So.
And the new, like.
No, so what you'll have basically is what you kind of see here. So if we go back, so actually we're at page 51, right? So what we'll have is you see that you got the old GL column, so you have 75, 10, 20, whatever. So you'd have under the new GL, you'd have 3 different numbers, but one of those numbers would be mapped to 75, 10. So it won't be perfect because you know how you split it out, but all the information will be carried forward. So that will be, you know, that'll be there. So So, and like with the vehicles, if we went back to whatever, say 3702 in the vehicles, you'll have 3702 will be mapped to one of the new GL codes,
Mhm.
but it won't have going forward. So 3702 that will have the truck, will have repairs and maintenance, license, fuel, oil and stuff like that. Going forward, so we'll have like 5 GL codes associated with that truck.
That's right.
But historically, there'll be one GL code.
It will be.
And everything will be truck
Subcode.
R and M.
Sub.
Okay,
Yeah,
so,
yeah.
so if you go back, you won't be able to say, how much did we spend on fuel in 2023? Because it won't be mapped. But you'll be able to see how much overall did we spend on that truck.
Yeah.
Okay,
So it'll be like a CMMS system type deal.
yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Computerized maintenance. Computerized maintenance.
Okay, now we have the, we've got,
You're on page 51,
Roslyn
Roslyn.
Hall. 51, is there any, there's no capital being spent there, it looks like. So it's mainly just operating. It has gone up because we have the caretaker coming more often now to do work.
Would that not reflect the 3% increase?
Yeah, we'll have 3%.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
On the revenue library rental, why are you down? Budget 24 and you're only 25 down to 14.
10,000. 10,000.
It's still the same space,
That should be the same thing, should be
10,000 less.
2025.
Oh,
I got that.
Unless there's not as many programs being offered, I'm not sure.
But still it's the rental.
No, this is rental
Hall.
for,
The halls.
Mhm.
for no
Library.
library rental
Library rental.
is, this is, what I think what they had in their budget, it ties to. If I'm not mistaken.
There's nothing under the act though.
I'm not sure. Yeah. Check that. Why that's got blanked out. I'll review that with the library.
Oh, 1,000 was, all rental for programs. Know what their, expenditures were for renting. Six, seven.
Yeah, so they had 14,389.
976.
I rounded it to 14,400.
Yeah.
The water testing, is that just a matter of catching up from Q3 or are we? Okay.
Okay, now we have the SNIMS. Straightforward. We get a bill, we charge them. They pay it.
Break even.
There's still money in the bank at the city of Thunder Bay, so the check hasn't bounced. South Garage. It's
I was gonna say, the revenue, I guess there's been an update, so.
Yeah.
Do we keep that amount in, which is a relatively modest amount?
Yeah.
I think it is.
And then we have the street lights. They are double from last year, or not quite double, but plus hydro and the contracts to
Mhm.
repair them. Yes, some of them require. Councillor Peacock?
I had a request from a resident wondering if it's possible to put lights on Hill Street. I guess it should have been done before it was paved if we had considered that. No? Okay,
Those don't go on the road.
no, but I'm just thinking,
So just so everybody's
machinery
aware, a light pole is about $38,000 per light. We're trying to actively move one on Roslyn Road right now. It's a hydro pole and it's closing in on $38,000 to move that pole. So by the time you run power to it, low voltage cable, a pole base, buy the aluminum pole, buy the head, you're pushing 20 to 21,000 per location. There was a report, last year's capital budget, I believe. I referenced that. Streetlights last year. That was one of the first items stroked up by council. Yeah. Yeah.
This is just to repair them, this 15,000, right?
Correct, and we're trending with our contracted services and it ties in to the 5-year since we did the LED upgrade to all our streetlights. Those are now all been paid for, whether it's been through savings or but yeah, they're all 5-year warranties and 5-year payment plan. It's all done, so we're seeing our replacement costs start to go up. Also, our service providers going up and our hydros going up.
Okay,
So with the extension of whatever they're gonna call it from Martin Drive, will that not then require street lighting along that section, and whose responsibility is that?
The chair, when you get up into that back end, there's one street light that's at the corner of Martin Drive on the loop, but there's nothing beyond that. So it wasn't dealt with during the subdivision or during the lot development aspect. And it's a dead end road.
Yeah.
5 people. We have 17 intersections is what I believe we talked about last year that require streetlights where we got moving traffic and that was turned down,
Yeah.
so.
so we usually include it, we usually ask the developer to do it, but it must not have been on the top list to
Wasn't
have
on-
on there.
Wasn't on our radar during, given the location,
No.
and there's all kinds of cul-de-sacs and dead ends in this municipality that don't have them currently either. 5 lots, 5 residential lots in a hamlet.
Yeah.
On a dead end, on a slow volume road, low speed, slow volume road.
Yeah. No, it's not
It was
required.
never asked to the developer, and I think it'd be not prudent to come back after the fact.
No. Okay, the Roslyn Village Water System.
Sorry,
Oops, I'm sorry.
we're not adding another street light, right? Just to be clear.
No more. Roslyn Village Water System. Okay.
Do we have true costs as far as this project? The date of the, I think
You
it's
won't
more
have-
costly than what it is here.
You won't have any true costs until it's completed.
Through the chair, this project started on the 20th September
Yeah,
at the end of Q3. That's when it started.
yeah, it's not even in here yet. Yes, right?
I think we had a report not too long ago about it, and the forecast for it was, I think, 425,000 in that, about that number.
We talking the Roslyn Water Plant?
Mm-hmm.
We received an invoice last week, but I don't know if it's been reviewed and approved by the
It'll show up in the last quarter.
operations. It is not the total amount though.
No, it's usually not until it's totally completed and
Did we get anywhere with were we not going to try and apply for a grant?
well, we couldn't apply for
Couldn't
that
because it was
grant.
already because it had already started?
No, because we had to prove that would prevent homelessness or something went with housing and.
We did
homelessness.
apply. Well, we applied in April to the Housing Enabling
Mhm.
Water System Fund,
Right,
and we got turned down.
So
Yeah.
the resolution that was passed was for 373,000 plus HST for the arsenic treatment plant, but that isn't reflected in here yet then, as far as, no.
we weren't approved. It wasn't approved.
No, I'm sorry, that was a resolution that we passed to have Villeneuve do the
Oh.
work.
That
So-
would,
Yeah, through the chair, the budget was 300,000
Yeah.
this time last year.
Mhm.
Worked through that with engineers all through the course of 2024. When we brought the resolution to council, it was based on an RFQ that went out to do what the engineers wanted. Pricing came back in at 374, and I believe we added another 27 or $30,000 for a building enclosure, which brings your total cost to 450.
Over 400.
None of that work has been completed as
Yeah.
of this moment in time.
You have to wait till it's all done before we have a final price. No, we could not get it. And then even we thought of the extending the water system and putting it to the houses, but now that's kind of been thrown away because the government now says it has pipe water, it has to have pipe sewage too.
That's what our application was about. We were gonna be putting some water system in to build a multiplex at the end of Alder, and the part of the application was doing this treatment plant.
No,
And we were told to do that when we were down at Roma.
Yeah.
That minister said, go ahead and put it.
Go ahead.
It was-
and then they put out another law saying if you have pipe water, you have to have pipe sewage, so we can't do it then. I know, doesn't make any sense. The only thing we can look at expanding that water system is to the subdivision that's along the Can River. That's the only opportunity we'll have, I think.
Just wondering, John, can you check one other thing there, with regard to water maintenance? Q2 had a expense, but it disappeared in Q3.
To 1328, I'll check. for
It
that.
doesn't, I don't, yeah, from 1328 to nothing, yeah, so.
Yes.
With regard to the partial servicing issue, we did look into it further. And Carrie was speaking with some MAH people. And the idea of expanding the water system to do something in Alder and all that could be considered infilling or something of that nature. So then we would be able to skirt around the no more partial servicing. That's the theory.
Oh, okay, well, let's skirt around it.
Maybe some other guy will say.
Oh, no, but you have to keep trying. Yes.
And further to the water situation, when is it, or do we have any idea when the project with regard to taking over Whitewater? Do we have anything on that at all?
No, not right
Should we
now.
should we be making provisions, tuck away a little bit, something for that project?
It all depends on when the city of Thunder Bay, the lawyers have the papers sitting on their desks. It's nothing is happening. Yes.
Yeah, we have some homework to do on that too. Right now, we're worrying, we only got so much time for each area.
Yeah.
Right now, we're trying to get this plant built,
Mhm.
and then we gotta go to the whitewater system. And that's part of the thing. The city has to do some agreement with us, et cetera. But we need to do a financial plan for a new system, and we need to have Chris can explain it, some kind of a system diagram or something or other, system description or something or other.
So basically, when we become the owner, we have to have on file a certificate of approval, even though there's an existing pumping system there, even though there's an existing dispensing system there, it does not grandfather to us. We have to apply for permission to take water, even though we're not taking water, we're accepting water. We have to start that legwork, and we have to have the diagram of the distribution system part of our application. So with all the development that's going on in there and every townhouse that went on, we need to know water service, we need to know meter number, we need to know all the stuff. Same thing we went through in our 2-block one that we just did in 2023. We in turn, after 2023, brought our drawings up to snuff from 1971, added to our C of A, and there we are.
Yeah.
Secondary to the whole Roslyn water system, you will see a report coming in first quarter 2025 in regards to what the average consumer uses, because we've been doing water monitoring every year, every month for the last calendar year. And you'll be a report coming on how that system is going to function for your blessing.
Lots of paperwork yet. Counselor Viss?
Yeah, just I guess a comment or question I have on this whole water system. The water system worked really well for the people that are on there, paying about $1 a day for it when it was started.
Oh.
It was none of their doings or none of this municipality's doings what happened where we are today. Because those people in Walkerton didn't do their job, the province put in a whole bunch of rules and regulation, which costs us the first pile of money. Now, then secondly, somebody comes along and cranks down the arsenic, and so that drops us just into that. So now we're here. Is Oliver Papoon's the only municipality in this province that's run into this? Like, why aren't we hollering at the province and say, look at you guys, because you people did what you did to us, here we are saddling our municipality with $300,000-$500,000. There's got to be something. It's absolutely out of our hands.
Through the chair, I directly agree with the Mr. Viss. At the time when we were dealing with the Walkerton people down here, the Walkerton engineering people that came to our site, they said that we were one of 27 municipalities fighting the same regulation that came in all at the same time. We are also one of 440 municipalities that has drinking water issues.
Yeah.
And the costs in those areas have become exorbitant. It's just crazy what these things cost. One of the pumps that's coming in for this arsenic treatment plant came from Singapore. Like it's
Where are you gonna get the parts?
where
From
you,
Sing-
well, that's the thing. When you bring something from Singapore, you bring two.
Yeah.
Because you never know.
Yeah.
And some of these design criterias, whether it's regulatory or guy with a pinky ring, sometimes get a little exorbitant, in my opinion. But to your point, yes, $1 a day in 1971 does not mean $9 a day in 2024.
Yeah.
I guess the reason I brought it up somehow, like, and right now would be the ideal time. Election is, we have finally somebody that's on the right side of the government that could probably help us out somewhere along the line. I think we need to pursue that kind of a thing and say, come on, here's our facts. We got all the facts, we got all the numbers, and just say, how can 30 people afford that?
That's right.
Through the chair, it's not just the day-to-day costs, the chemicals, the replacement value of these things, reserve funds. The day-to-day monitoring of it is incidental to the grand scheme of things. We witnessed that from 1971 to 2023, where we spent $900,000 replacing 750 meters of pipe. Never mind everything that we've done with the system. Since my predecessor, we were fortunate enough to get grants all the way along, and it's helped out those users, there's no doubt. But when we walk into Whitewater and we're taking on 22-year-old infrastructure, if we get it next year, fair warning.
Mm-hmm.
And if I may ask to that, if you remember when we first started that discussion, we said, and I believe somewhere in the agreement, it said there's supposed to be X number of dollars put away in reserves because those pipe got to be replaced. You just said 22 years. So how many more years before we got replaced pipe? All of Papoon's residents should not be paying for that because that should be all put in reserves by, I guess, the contractor that who owns all the property. So we've got to make sure that is in place, and otherwise we won't accept it. So let's see what happens.
Yeah. It's interesting conversations.
Do we know who's operating Whitewaters now?
So currently, we have Aqua, and they have a company called, not the same. Clearwater. No,
Clearview?
yeah, we had them when we were under third-party management, third-party oversight with MOE. They came on as our oversight, and now they've stayed in Thunder Bay and they are running Whitewater.
Yeah, so they're just a private company versus Aqua is provincially.
Yeah, so that company was because of our vendor issues we had in 2021, I believe it was, whatever year it was. They were presented to us. We got some bills from them for that oversight, and we put out our RFQ for a new service provider while they were doing oversight for us. They were double Aqua's cost at that time. we have had meetings with Aqua, just so everybody's aware that when their contract is up, we're looking at a big increase. And there's nobody doing it.
Yeah, they have you.
That's reflected in the 52,800.
Yeah.
On line 2 expenses. That increase.
Okay.
One further question with regard to the water capital. This year, it was a $30,000 transfer from reserve. It says reserve transfer, so I'm presuming it's money in, but now it's only $2,500. Will we have funding for that or wait till year end?
The budget transfer from reserves matches the capital. So we only have one item in capital for 2025.
And what is that?
Public water dispenser, so that allows, so Chris can explain better, but these people can fill up their water jugs at that.
Oh, yeah, good, yeah.
Correct. Once the arsenic is free and the building is enclosed, we're making provisions to get a bottle filler on the outside of the building.
Oh, interesting. Well, that'd be pleased, people in that area for sure. Thank you.
Okay. Alrighty, we will see where it all ends up now that we've made these changes.
I'll get on it and give you guys an update and let you know how close you are to your target. So one thing is that MPAC will have a preliminary estimate. I think it's 1.98% growth, but they will give me the actual amount. But it may be very close to the next meeting, so.
Okay.
It may come in on a separate sheet.
Okay.
The number of building permits. There must be number of supplementaries.
We've been sending supplementaries out through the year.
So our next meeting is for budget is December the 12th, I think.
16.
Sorry, 16th. Yep. He's not cruising, Sean.
Oh, you won't. I knew there was somebody who wasn't.
Well, if someone's not gonna be here, then someone could lose something.
Right.
Took over 200 grand on it. I'm passing. He's going to be coming over.
Okay, so we have a resolution that's moved and seconded that we adjourn the operating capital budget meeting at 11:42 a.m. All in favor? Opposed? Carried.